Introduction, the slap of awakening. Warning, listen to me very carefully. If you have come to this audio looking for a virtual hug, turn it off right now. If you clicked expecting me to pat you on the head, to tell you that nothing is your fault, that you are a pure soul surrounded by bad people, and that the universe is simply being unfair to you, you are in the wrong place. Close this video. Go back to your social media to look for those empty motivational phrases that make you feel good for 5 minutes, but leave your life exactly as stagnant the next day. But if you decide to stay, if you have the courage to listen beyond this first minute, you assume the consequences. I'm going to give you a bitter drink. It's going to burn your throat as it goes down. It's going to deeply offend your ego. It's going to destroy, one by one, all the excuses you've built and perfected over the last 5, 10, or 20 years to justify why your bank account is empty. Your heart is broken or your soul is tired. Why am I doing this? Why am I speaking to you with such harshness? It's not out of a lack of empathy, quite the opposite. I do it because I am deeply tired of seeing gods behaving like beggars. I am fed up with seeing creators of reality crawling on the ground, begging for crumbs of attention, crumbs of love and crumbs of success. I'm fed up because you have the keys to the entire universe in your own hands. We live in the age of glass, a dangerous era where society has turned trauma into a trophy. Today, people secretly compete to see who suffers more, who is more oppressed, who had the worst childhood, or who survived the worst partner. I want to make something very clear. Your wounds are real. The harm done to you happened, your pain is undeniable, and I am not here to invalidate it. But using that historical pain as a permanent VIP pass, not to move forward, using your scars as an excuse to give up on life, that is your decision, and it is a cowardly decision. Victimhood is humanity's most addictive and destructive comfort zone. Do you know why you like it so much? Because as long as you are the victim, you are exempt from responsibility. If failure is the fault of the government, your parents, the economy, or fate, then you don't have to move a single finger to fix it. It is comfortable to stay in the mud when you convince everyone that someone else pushed you. It is comfortable, yes, but it is pathetic. Today we are going to rip off that band-aid in one go. It's going to hurt. Your mind will try to defend itself and will want to hate me for telling you the truth. But when the initial sting passes, the wound will finally begin to heal. Welcome to the end of your excuses. Welcome to the uncomfortable, terrifying, but glorious first day of your absolute sovereignty. If you continue listening, the contract is signed. Let's begin. Chapter 1, The Complaint Addict. The Parable of the Dog and the Nail. Let's talk about your addiction. And no, I am not referring to tobacco, alcohol, sleeping pills, or sugar. I am talking about an addiction that is much deeper, much more destructive, and what's worse, socially applauded. I am referring to your pathological addiction to complaining. I want you to perform an exercise of brutal honesty right now. I want you to rewind the tape of your day today, from the moment you opened your eyes this morning. What was your first thought? Was it a thought of gratitude for having air in your lungs? Probably not. It was likely a dull complaint. I'm so tired. What horrible weather. I don't want to go to work. Then you got up. You complained that the water took too long to heat up. You complained about the traffic or public transportation. You arrived at your job or opened your computer and complained about your boss, your clients, the economy, the government, the taxes. You got home and complained about your partner, your children, or the pain in your back. Complaining has become the background noise of your existence. It has become your mother tongue. You think you are a positive person because once in a while you share an inspiring meme or smile in a photo, but the vibrational reality of your life is that you are a machine for emitting laments. Your logical mind, the one that always tries to protect you so you don't feel shame, is telling you right now, but I don't complain that much. I only describe reality. If the economy is bad, saying so isn't complaining, it's being realistic. That is the first lie of the addict. The addict always justifies their drug. You believe that complaining is venting. You think that by vomiting your frustration onto your friend, your partner, or your social networks, you are releasing pressure from the pot. False. At a neurological and metaphysical level, you are doing exactly the opposite. You are closing the pressure cooker and turning up the fire. The chemistry of lament. To stop being a victim, you first have to understand how the biology of your victimhood works. Every time you complain, your brain releases stress hormones, primarily cortisol and norepinephrine. You are programming your nervous system to believe it is under attack. But here comes the perverse part, the trap that keeps you hooked. Complaining also provides you with a dopamine micro-reward. How is this possible? It happens when you find another complaint addict who listens to you. You say, "Life is so hard, my boss exploits me, I have no luck in love." And your friend, your mother, or the stranger on the internet responds, "Oh, you poor thing, you are absolutely right. How unfair the world is to you. You are so good and bad things happen to you." Boom! In that exact second, your brain receives a shot of pleasure. You have received attention, validation, and compassion. You have discovered that pity is a cheap substitute for love and respect. Since you don't know how to earn the world's admiration through your achievements, your courage, or your sovereignty, you choose to earn the world's pity through your misfortunes. It is much easier to evoke pity than to evoke envy. To evoke envy, to inspire others, you have to work on yourself. You have to take risks. You have to fail in public, sweat, bleed, and get back up. To evoke pity, you only have to sit in a corner, do absolutely nothing, and cry out loud. Complaining is a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, keeps you busy moving back and forth, spending energy, but it takes you nowhere. You stay in exactly the same square meter of misery. The parable of the dog and the nail. To understand the truly absurd, pathetic, and painful nature of this situation you are in, I have to take you far from the city. I have to take you to a dusty dirt road in the middle of the countryside on a hot summer afternoon. A traveler was walking along that path, seeking to reach the nearest town before nightfall. He was tired and sweaty. In the distance, he saw a small wooden cabin with a wide porch. Sitting in an old rocking chair was an elderly farmer, smoking a pipe, looking at the horizon with absolute tranquility. But there was something that broke the peace of the scene. At the old man's feet, lying on the wooden boards of the porch, was an old and scrawny hunting dog. The dog was not sleeping. It was emitting a constant, high-pitched and mournful moan. Oh, oh, oh. It was a constant sound of suffering, not a death rattle, but a chronic lament like slow torture. The traveler stopped in front of the porch. It broke his heart to see the animal suffer like that. He looked at the old man, expecting to see some reaction of concern, but the old man kept smoking his pipe, rocking to the rhythm of the dog's moans. Finally, the traveler could bear it no longer and asked, "Excuse me, good man. What is wrong with your dog? Is he sick? Why is he crying in such a painful way?" The old man took the pipe out of his mouth, exhaled a cloud of grey smoke, looked at the dog and then at the traveler. "Ah, the dog," he replied with a raspy and serene voice. "Don't pay him much mind. He isn't sick. What's happening is that he's lying right on top of a board, where a rusty nail is sticking out." The traveler opened his eyes with incredulity and felt indignation boiling in his blood. "But for the love of God," shouted the traveler, "if the poor animal is lying on a nail that is piercing his flesh, why on earth doesn't he get up and lie down somewhere else? The porch is huge." The old man smiled slightly, a smile that denoted years of observing the stupidity of animal and human behavior. He put the pipe back to his lips and, before lighting it, delivered the most brutal sentence the traveler had heard in his life. "Look, stranger, the dog doesn't move for a very simple reason. That nail hurts him enough to spend all day crying and complaining, but it doesn't hurt him enough yet to force him to get up and move." Decoding the parable, look in the mirror. I am going to say it to you looking directly into the eyes of your soul. You are that dog. Look at yourself. Observe yourself with forensic coldness for a moment. That job you say you hate with all your soul, where your boss doesn't value you, where the salary isn't enough to make it to the end of the month, where you feel you are wasting your potential, that is your nail. That toxic, empty relationship, where you feel more alone being accompanied than when you were single, where you are disrespected, or where there simply is no love anymore, and you have been saying, "I can't take it anymore," for years. That is your nail. That body you have, that lack of energy, that frustration every time you look in the mirror, that is your nail. You have been lying exactly in the same place for months, perhaps years, whimpering. You cry with your friends at the bar. You cry with your family at dinner. You cry on the internet. You cry in silence in your bed. You shout, "I can't take it anymore. This is unbearable." But the universe, like the wise man on the porch, knows the truth. The universe knows you are a liar, because if it were true that you couldn't take it anymore, you wouldn't be there. Basic survival dictates that when something truly burns, you pull your hand away instantly. You don't stay thinking about it. You move by pure instinct. But you don't move. Why? Because the situation doesn't hurt you enough yet. It hurts just enough to give you the right to complain, to play the victim, to receive the pat on the back from the other dogs also sitting on their nails. But it doesn't hurt enough to make the terrifying decision to get up. The terror of getting up, secondary gain. Why does the dog prefer the nail to smooth wood? Because to get up, the dog has to make an effort. It has to tense its muscles, break the inertia of rest, and find a new place. And the new place is unknown. The nail is painful, yes, but it is a known pain. Your primitive brain loves the known. In psychology, this is called secondary gain. Every situation of suffering in your life that you allow to prolong is giving you a hidden benefit. If there were no benefit, you would have already left. Ask yourself with brutal honesty, what do I gain by staying in this miserable job? You gain the security of a paycheck. You gain not having to face the fear of failing. You gain the comfort of someone else telling you what to do. What do you gain in that dead relationship? You gain not facing the ghost of loneliness. You gain having someone to blame for your unhappiness. Sitting on the nail exempts you from the responsibility of being great. Getting off the nail means you are now in charge. It means if you go elsewhere and fail, it is your fault. Success brings vertigo. The nail brings identity. Unconscious black magic. Your word is a decree. Your vocal cords are magic wands. The Bible says, "In the beginning was the Word." Quantum science tells us the observer collapses the wave function of reality. What you verbalize with emotion becomes the construction order for the architect of your life. Every time you complain, you are ordering more of that same reality. You are performing black magic against yourself. Imagine the universe is a waiter. You tell him, with emotion and tears, "I hate this cold soup. I can't stand being poor." The universe notes, the client is focusing all energy on cold soup and poverty. And the waiter shouts to the kitchen, "Another round of cold soup and misery for table 5. They love thinking about that." The universe is a perfect mirror. Complaining is an act of sustained attention. Everything you give attention to grows. When you complain about debts, your entire mind vibrates in debt frequency. Opportunities are invisible to a brain that is busy complaining. Complaining is a statement of faith in the negative. When you say, "I'm never going to get out of this," you are signing a binding contract with fate. You are sentencing your own case to life imprisonment and then throwing the key in the river. The viral infection. You have to understand that your lament is not an isolated act. You are radioactive. When you become a complaint addict, you transform into an energetic black hole for those around you. You are a vampire. You drain the vital energy of your friends, your children, and your partner. Have you noticed that successful people, people who vibrate high, start to move away from you? They don't do it because they are bad people. They do it out of survival instinct. They know your victim frequency is contagious. If you want people of value and opportunities to approach you, you must become fertile ground. The antidote, the radical complaint fast. It is time to rip the first scab off this wound. If what you have heard so far has offended or angered you, congratulations, I just hit your ego right in the jaw. But if a small part of you recognize the truth in my words, then we are ready to work. From this exact second, ignorance no longer protects you. You know you are the dog. So I impose a challenge, a 24-hour radical complaint fast. For the next day, you are strictly forbidden from emitting any kind of lament. You cannot complain about the weather, the traffic, or the price of coffee. If the shower water is cold, you have two options. Fix the heater, action, or bathe in absolute silence, acceptance. Action or silent acceptance. There is no middle ground. The middle ground is the nail. The rule is, if you can change it, move and change it. If you won't move, then shut up and accept it. I warn you, you will fail. When you are about to complain, bite your tongue, literally. Feel the physical pain before letting the poison out. Swallow your complaint. Observe how that frustration energy starts to accumulate in your chest. That pressure, if held, will become the sacred rage you need to finally get up from the nail. You have stopped crying. You have decided to stand up. But the cleaning process is just beginning. Now your mind will try to travel to the past to find justifications. It will tell you, I'm like this because of my parents or the government. You have built a tribunal in your head and named yourself supreme judge. Chapter 2. The False Culprit. Why blaming your parents, your ex, or the government keeps you poor and alone. The parable of the poisoned arrow. You have survived the first round. You managed to get off the nail. You accepted the challenge of the complaint fast, and suddenly, a heavy and revealing silence settled in your mind. By stopping the vomiting of complaints about the present, your brain ran out of its favorite drug. But the ego is cunning. The ego is a relentless defense attorney, designed to protect your victim identity at any cost. Seeing that you no longer allow it to complain about the now, your ego has taken a trip through time. It has turned its head back, searched through the archives of your memory, and found a new strategy to keep you paralyzed. It has found the holy grail of human mediocrity: guilt. Your mind whispers to you right now, fine, I accept that my present is a disaster and I will not complain, but you have to understand one thing. I wouldn't be in this pit if I hadn't been pushed. My life is miserable because of my parents, who gave me no love, because of my ex who destroyed my self-esteem, because of the government, which ruined the economy, because of society, which gave me no opportunities. You have built a supreme court inside your skull. You have put on the judge's robe, seated all those who once hurt you in the defendant's dock, and you spend your days and nights sentencing. You are a relentless judge. You condemn your father for his absence. You condemn your mother for her coldness. You condemn your ex for their betrayal. You condemn the politician of the day for your lack of money. And as you strike the gavel and shout guilty, you feel a perverse relief. You feel an intoxicating moral superiority. They are the bad ones. I am the good one. They are the executioners. I am the martyr. But today I have come to set fire to your courtroom. I have come to tell you that the gavel you strike is not doing you justice, it is digging your grave. Because every time you point a finger at someone and declare them guilty of your current situation, you are committing the greatest act of metaphysical sabotage that exists. You are giving away your creative power. The mathematics of sovereignty. Think about it with cold mathematical logic. If your unhappiness is your mother's fault, then your mother holds the key to your happiness, until she changes, apologizes, or travels back in time to raise you differently. You are condemned to be unhappy. If your poverty is the government's fault, then the president holds the key to your wealth. Until the system changes, you are condemned to be poor. If your lack of confidence is the fault of your toxic ex-partner, then that person, who probably doesn't even think about you and is rebuilding their life, has the remote control of your self-esteem. Blaming others is signing a power of attorney where you cede absolute control of your emotional, financial, and spiritual destiny to people who, in many cases, are incompetent, wounded, or don't even know you exist. It is the ultimate expression of slavery. You are a voluntary slave. You claim you have been harmed, but by doing so, you chain yourself to your aggressor for life. You are drinking poison every day, sitting and waiting for the other to die. To understand the gravity of this energy hemorrhage, I have to take you to ancient India. I have to tell you a story that Buddha himself told a disciple who was too obsessed with seeking useless answers instead of healing his life. The parable of the poisoned arrow. Once upon a time there was a brave warrior, but tremendously proud and stubborn. During a fierce battle in the deep jungle, an enemy archer hidden among the trees shot him. The arrow crossed the air at top speed and pierced deep into the warrior's shoulder. It was no ordinary arrow. The tip was covered in a thick, dark, and lethal poison. The warrior fell to the ground, writhing in pain. His brothers in arms ran to him, lifted him up, and rushed him to the camp doctor's tent. The healer saw the wound, recognized the color of the blood mixed with the toxin, and said, "Quick, we must extract the arrow immediately and suck out the poison. If it reaches the heart, he will die in a matter of minutes." The doctor prepared his forceps and approached the warrior. But just as he was about to grab the wooden shaft to pull the arrow out, the warrior, sweating cold and with bloodshot eyes, raised his healthy hand and stopped him. "Wait!" shouted the warrior. "No one is pulling this arrow out until I know who shot me." The doctor looked at him in desperation. "You are losing your mind from the pain. The poison is advancing through your veins. If I don't pull the arrow out right now, you are going to die. What does it matter who fired?" But the warrior's ego was bigger than his survival instinct. "It matters to me," he roared, spitting blood. "I demand to know. I will not allow the arrow to be pulled until they tell me if the man who shot me was tall or short, if he was of the warrior caste or the servant caste, if he was light or dark-skinned. I want to know if the bow he used was made of yew or bamboo. I want to know if the feathers of this arrow are from a hawk or a vulture. I demand to know the name of my attacker and why he hated me so much as to shoot me." The warrior's companions looked at each other in terror. No one had that information. The attacker was hidden in the jungle miles away. The doctor insisted, almost pleading, "If I send my scouts to find that information, it will take hours, maybe days, and you don't even have 10 minutes. I beg you to let me pull the arrow out." "No," the warrior sentenced with stubbornness. "First the answers. I have a right to know who is to blame for my pain before healing." And so, while his companions cried in helplessness and the doctor held the forceps in the air, the warrior kept shouting his demands, analyzing the wood of the arrow, cursing the unknown archer, and demanding justice. 5 minutes later, the poison reached his heart. The warrior died. He died without knowing who shot him. He died without knowing what wood the bow was. But above all, he died from his own arrogance. He died because he preferred to be right and seek the culprit, instead of pulling out the damn arrow and saving his life. Decoding the parable, paralysis by analysis. This is possibly the most precise X-ray of your current psychological state. You are that dying warrior. The world at some point in your life shot you. The arrow is real. The abuse you suffered in your childhood is real. The betrayal of your ex-partner is real. The economic crisis that destroyed your business is real. No one is denying that you have an arrow stuck in your chest. No one denies that the wound bleeds. The problem, your true tragedy, is not the archer who shot you 10 years ago. Your tragedy is that you have spent 10 damn years in the doctor's tent, stopping the universe that wants to heal you, shouting, "I will not heal until my father asks for my forgiveness. I will not be rich until the government admits it ruined my industry. I will not love again until my ex suffers the same harm they did to me." You have spent years going to therapists, reading self-help books, paying for courses, not to pull out the arrow, but to analyze the wood of the arrow. You sit on the couch to dissect your trauma. Of course, I suffer from anxious attachment syndrome because my mother was emotionally distant when I was 3 years old, and that generated an abandonment wound in my inner child. Bravo, excellent diagnosis. You now know what feather the arrow is made of. You are an expert in your own trauma. You are a scholar of your own misery. And now what? Has knowing all that paid your debts? Has it brought peace to your nights? Has it attracted a healthy partner to your life? No. The poison is still in your blood. Knowing why they shot you doesn't cure you. Knowing who shot you doesn't stop the bleeding. Excess analysis is a sophisticated form of paralysis. Analyzing your pain has become an intellectual justification for not moving forward. It is time to stop idolizing your traumas. It is time to understand that it doesn't matter who pulled the bow. It's over. The archer left a long time ago. You are alone in the doctor's tent. The only question life asks you today is, are you going to pull out the arrow, or are you going to let the poison kill you while you demand an apology that will never come? The 3 great false culprits. To pull out the arrow, first we have to look directly at your 3 favorite executioners. We have to dismantle the 3 idols in your mental courtroom to whom you pray every night asking for revenge. 1. The first idol, your parents. This is the deepest wound and your ego's most sacred argument. My life is broken because my parents didn't give me what I needed. They were violent or cold or absent or overprotective. Listen to me with all the attention you are capable of. Your parents did exactly the only thing they could do with the level of consciousness, emotional tools, and unresolved traumas they themselves had. Your parents were not perfect gods. They were wounded children operating in adult bodies, trying to survive a world they didn't understand either. Your father wasn't cold because you weren't worthy. He was cold because his own father taught him that feeling was for the weak. Your mother wasn't controlling because she wanted to ruin you. She was controlling because she was terrified. They gave you what they had. If they gave you poison, it's because they were full of poison. You can't squeeze an orange and expect apple juice. In metaphysics, many teachers teach that the soul chooses its parents precisely to live the experiences and frictions necessary for its evolution. You chose the training camp. You chose the difficulty. But even if you don't believe in soul agreements, biology and logic dictate this. You are already an adult. Blaming your parents at 30, 40, or 50 for your current failures is like crashing a car into a wall today and blaming the instructor who taught you to drive 20 years ago. At 18, you cease to be the effect of your parents. From then on, everything you don't heal is your responsibility. Trauma is not your fault, but healing is your absolute responsibility. Letting go of your parents, forgiving them radically, is not doing them a favor. It is cutting the chain that has you tied to the past. It is dropping the arrow to the second idol, your ex-partners. The second favorite target of your complaints, the famous narcissist, the toxic one, the manipulator. Your ego feeds by telling everyone how that person ruined you, how you gave everything and were paid with betrayal. You love the role of the innocent victim in love, but I'm going to tell you the raw truth you refuse to see in the mirror. You chose them, and you stayed. That person didn't break into your house with a gun and force you to fall in love. You opened the door. You ignored all the red flags in the first months because you were terrified of being alone. You lowered your standards. You allowed them to cross your limits again and again, with the vain hope that your love would change them. The ex-partner who hurt you wasn't a monster. They were a severe teacher sent to show you your own lack of self-love. Your ex-partner's behavior was a direct reflection of how you valued yourself. They treated you like clearance because your tag said, "On sale." As long as you keep saying "they broke my heart," you will remain a helpless victim. Change the language. Assume your part. Say, "I allowed my heart to be broken. I gave away my power. I was an accomplice to my own abuse out of fear of loneliness." When you admit complicity, the pain transforms into a lesson, and the poison disappears from your blood. 3. The third idol. The government, the economy, and the system. When you have no parents or exes left to blame, you point upward, to the abstract, to the macro. The situation of the country, inflation, thieving politicians, the rich who oppress us. This is the most dangerous false culprit because it has the backing of the masses. If you go to any bar or bus stop and complain about the government, 100 people will agree with you. Collective victimhood makes you feel accompanied. Yes, the system is corrupt. Yes, there is injustice. You discovered that water is wet. And what are you going to do about it? Are you going to sit and wait for an honest politician to save you? You will die of old age in that chair. While you waste energy complaining about inflation, there is another individual in this same second, with worse circumstances, who is founding a business, creating wealth, and finding cracks in the matrix wall to escape. Eagles don't complain about the storm. They fly above it. If your country's economy is broken, the problem is not the country. The problem is that your income depends exclusively on the country. The problem is your lack of creativity, your lack of global skills, your refusal to adapt to the new digital era, and your insistence on clinging to a dead job model. Blaming the system is the perfect excuse for the lazy. The system is not fair, but it is hackable, and only those who assume 100% responsibility for their bank account learn to hack it. The vertigo of radical responsibility. What I'm asking of you today is to cross the most terrifying bridge of human development, the bridge from victimhood to radical responsibility. Radical responsibility means saying, everything in my life, good, bad, ugly, and sublime, is my creation or my permission. I am the cause, not the effect. People run from this phrase because it is terrifying. If you are the cause, it means if you are broke, it is your work. If you are fat and sick, it is your work. If you are alone, it is your work. That is the vertigo. The ego screams in panic because it destroys all its alibis. But behind that vertigo, behind that free fall where you admit you alone are the author of the disaster of your life, is the most absolute liberation a human being can experience. Because the equation works both ways. If you admit you created your hell, then you have to admit by pure physical and metaphysical logic that you have the same power to create your heaven. The brush you use to paint misery is the same brush with which you can paint abundance. The hand that drove the arrow in is the only hand that can pull it out. As long as you believe another drove it in, you will wait for another to pull it out. When you know you attracted the archer with your vibration, you pull the wood out yourself and say, "Enough, lesson learned." Forgiveness as an act of supreme selfishness. To close this courtroom once and for all, you have to issue a final order. You have to issue a general pardon. You have to forgive, but forget everything religion taught you about forgiveness. Forgiveness is not an act of kindness toward the aggressor. It is not reconciliation. You don't have to talk to your ex. You don't have to invite toxic parents to dinner. You don't have to kiss the hand of the one who hit you. Forgiveness doesn't even have to do with them. It is an act of pure selfishness. It is the most ruthless and intelligent survival strategy. To forgive is to say, "What you did to me was terrible, but I refuse to keep spending my vital force on hating you. You are too insignificant to rent a room for free in my head for the rest of my life. I forgive you to disconnect from you. I cut the bond from my side. You are free, but more importantly, I am free." When you don't forgive, you create an invisible thread between you and the person who hurt you. You are feeding them with your anger. By forgiving, you take sharp scissors and cut the thread. The poisoned arrow falls to the ground. The poison stops circulating. The challenge of the chapter: close the courtroom. The moment for action has arrived. If you are truly committed to ceasing to be the victim, this is what you are going to do. Find a piece of paper, a physical piece of paper. I want you to write the names of the 3 archers you have spent years blaming for your misery. Write their names in large letters, and underneath, you are going to write the final decree of the initiate. You have no power over me. I withdraw my lawsuit. I cancel the debt I believed you owed me. I assume the throne of my own life. You are released. I am in charge now. Then burn that damn paper. Watch it burn. Watch it turn to ash. And as the smoke rises, feel the arrow leave your shoulder. Breathe. For the first time in years, your lungs have space. The poison is gone. You have stopped complaining. You have stopped blaming others. The ground is clean. You are naked before the universe, just you and your power. But your ego will seek refuge in the darkest place possible. Since it can no longer blame others, it will try to use your own pain as a medal of honor. It will try to convince you that suffering makes you special. Chapter 3: The Broken Trophy. The fashion of romanticizing traumas, and the parable of the beggar sitting on the golden box. You have swallowed your pride. You have lifted yourself from the rusty nail of complaining, and you have set fire to the mental tribunal where you judged your parents, your ex-partners, and the system. You have cut the threads of basic victimhood. You are standing in the middle of the room of your mind in absolute silence. The noise is gone, but your ego, that brilliant and calculating parasite that has controlled your life until today, does not give up so easily. Seeing itself cornered, noticing that you no longer allow it to use the weapon of complaining or the shield of guilt, it executes its master plan, its most subtle, perverse, and poisonous move. Since it can no longer blame others for your wound, it decides to fall in love with the wound. It decides to take that pain, polish it, frame it, and display it in the center of your chest as if it were a medal of valor. Your ego whispers in your ear, "It's okay, we are no longer resentful victims, now we are survivors. We are special because we have suffered so much. Our pain makes us deep, it makes us mysterious, it makes us wiser than the others." And so, without realizing it, you fall into the darkest trap of the modern era, the broken trophy, the absolute romanticization of your own traumas, the Olympics of suffering. Look at the society around you. Open any social network. Observe the conversations in cafes or at gatherings of friends. We are living through an epidemic of weakness disguised as authenticity. People have turned their clinical diagnoses, their insecurities, and their past tragedies into their cover letters. They put in their internet biographies: anxiety survivor, broken soul healing, victim of narcissistic relationships. They have turned trauma into a personal brand. When you meet someone, within 10 minutes of conversation, they are already telling you their greatest tragedy, and what is worse, they expect you to tell them yours. They want to see who wins. It is a pathetic competition. These are the Olympics of suffering. If you say, "I had a difficult childhood," the other person responds, "That's nothing, my childhood was hell." They compete to see who is more damaged. They compete for the broken trophy. Because in the twisted scale of values of the glass society, the one who has suffered the most demands a status of untouchable. The one who has suffered the most demands that the world walk on eggshells around them so as not to trigger their sensitivity. Why do we do this? Why do you cling to your history of pain? I will tell you straight to the jaw. Because without your trauma, you are terribly ordinary. Your ego is panicked at being common and current. Since you have not built anything extraordinary with your talents, since you have not built an empire, nor written a masterpiece, nor forged a mind, you use your tragedy to stand out. You believe your suffering makes you unique. No one has suffered like me, you tell yourself at night. My pain has a depth that normal people do not understand. Lie. Pain is the most vulgar and universal thing that exists on this planet. Everyone suffers. The billionaire on his yacht suffers from existential voids. The baker suffers for his debts. The monk suffers for his doubts. Pain does not make you special. Pain simply makes you human. What would make you special? What would make you truly unique is what you decide to build upon the ashes of that pain. But building requires effort. It requires stopping the crying. It requires responsibility. It is 1,000 times easier to sit on the ground, hug your knees, show your scars to the world, and wait for them to throw coins of compassion at you. To understand the magnitude of the wealth you are wasting by being busy showing your wounds, I have to take you to a dusty street. I have to tell you one of the most powerful stories. Listen carefully to the story of the man who was rich and did not know it. The parable of the beggar and the golden box. There was once a beggar who had been sitting on the same corner on the same grimy sidewalk, watching people pass by for more than 30 years. His routine was identical every day. He dressed in rags, his face was covered in soot, and he held out an old wool cap toward passers-by, repeating in a monotonous and mournful voice, "A coin, please, a coin for this poor wretch. Have mercy, a coin." To avoid sitting on the cold ground, the beggar always carried an old wooden box with him. It was a heavy, dirty box, covered in layers and layers of grime, dried mud, and street grease. He had been using it as a seat for so long that he didn't even remember. He no longer remembered where he had gotten it. To him, it was just a useless piece of furniture that served to keep his rear from freezing. One day, a stranger crossed that street. He walked with a firm step, with the awake gaze of someone who sees beyond appearances. The beggar, seeing him pass, stretched out his cap mechanically. "A coin, good sir. Have mercy on me. I have been suffering on this corner for 30 years. The stranger stopped. He looked at the beggar from head to toe. He looked at the empty cap, but he did not put his hand in his pocket. He did not make a gesture to give him money. Instead, the stranger stared at the box. He stared at the box the beggar was sitting on. "I have nothing to give you," said the stranger with a firm voice. The beggar lowered his gaze, disappointed, and muttered, "No one ever has anything for me. My destiny is to suffer." The stranger ignored him and pointed with his finger. "What is that you are sitting on?" The beggar huffed, annoyed by the useless question. "This? It's just an old box, a useless drawer. I've been sitting on it for over 30 years. "And have you ever looked inside?" asked the stranger. "What for?" replied the beggar, laughing with bitterness. "There's nothing inside. It's trash like my life. It's empty." "Open the box," ordered the stranger, with an authority that made the beggar tremble. Reluctantly, cursing under his breath at that stranger who was making him waste his time instead of giving him a coin, the beggar stood up. He knelt beside the box. The lid was stuck by decades of rust and dirt. He had to use force. He dug in his nails, pulled with all his might, and finally, with a dry crack, the wooden lid gave way and swung open. The beggar looked inside, and he lost his breath. His eyes widened immensely, and he began to tremble from head to toe. A muffled cry came from his dry throat. There, beneath 30 years of grime, dust, and tears, the box was not empty. The box was full to the brim of solid gold coins, shiny, pure, dazzling. An incalculable fortune. The beggar looked up, his face bathed in tears of wonder and rage, looking for the stranger. But the stranger was already gone. The man fell to his knees, crying out loud, realizing the cruelest irony of his existence. He had spent 30 years of his life begging for copper cents, sitting exactly on top of an incalculable fortune. Decoding the parable, you are the beggar. If this story does not turn your stomach, it is because you are not paying attention. I will tell you bluntly, you are the beggar. And I am not just talking about money. I am talking about your energy, your self-love, your sovereignty, and your power of manifestation. You have spent years, decades perhaps, sitting at the corner of life holding out your emotional cap toward others. You say to your partners, "Give me a little love, please. Tell me I'm worth it. Love me because I am broken." You say to your family, "Have mercy on me, understand me, give me approval, look how much I've suffered." You say to your friends, to your followers on social media, "Give me a like, give me a comment of comfort. Give me some coins of validation because today I had an anxiety attack, because today I remembered my trauma." You are an emotional beggar, asking for sense of pity from passers-by who are just as poor and lost as you are. And all this time, all this damn time, you have been sitting on the golden box. What is the box? The box is your consciousness. It is the I am. It is the divine spark, the engine of quantum physics, the subconscious mind connected to infinite intelligence, that has the exact and mathematical capacity to create realities. It has the capacity to heal diseases, to generate millions of dollars, and to attract deep and unconditional love. You carry God in your pocket. You are an antenna broadcasting reality. You are a creator of worlds. But the box is covered by the grime of your personal history. The grime is that trauma you like to talk about so much. It is the label of victim. It is the story of how they betrayed you in 2014. It is the story of how your father didn't hug you in 1998. It is the story of your country's crisis. You have coated the gold with so much mental trash, with so many layers of mud and narratives. You have coated it so much that you already forgot what is underneath. You have identified with the grime of the box instead of identifying with the gold that is inside. The horror tale of your identity. Here lies the greatest danger of romanticizing your trauma. Your identity merges with the wound. You have told the story of your misfortune so many times that if someone takes that story away from you, you feel that you disappear. Imagine that today, a magic power erased your trauma. Imagine that you wake up tomorrow and you no longer have anxiety. You no longer have depression. The past no longer hurts you. You are completely free and you are healthy. For a normal mind, that would be paradise. But for the beggar addicted to his story, that would be terrifying. Your ego would panic and say, "Wait, if I'm no longer the depressed boy and if I'm no longer the woman whose heart was broken, then who am I? What am I going to talk about at parties? What am I going to post on the internet? How am I going to get people to pay attention to me?" The terror of the blank page is what keeps you sick. You prefer to be a known sick person than an unknown healthy one. Your trauma has become your protective shield against the responsibility of being great. Because if you admit you are healthy, if you open the golden box and see that you are immensely rich inside, if you see that, then you no longer have excuses. If you have gold, the pretexts for not building a palace are over. You can no longer say, "I can't." You have to get up from the corner, stop giving pity, and start working like a king. And that brings a frightful vertigo. The trap of I am healing. The industry of personal development and modern psychology has created a very comfortable trap to keep you sitting on the box. It is the trap of the eternal process. The favorite phrase of the modern beggar is, "I am healing." Don't ask me to give my 100% at work. I am healing. Don't ask me to be a good partner and to trust you. I am healing my abandonment wounds. Don't demand discipline from me. I am in my healing process. Healing has become a full-time vocation, a permanent excuse for not going out into the arena to fight. Listen to me. Healing is not a marital status. Healing is not a profession. Wounds are washed, disinfected, stitched, and one keeps walking. One does not stay in the hospital to live forever just because the IV drip is warm. If you have been healing the same problem for 5 years and you still talk about it every day, you are not healing. You are ruminating. You are licking the wound so it doesn't close because you like the taste of your own blood and you like others to ask you if it hurts. A wound that is being poked every day becomes infected. Leave the damn wound alone. The body and mind know how to scar if you stop scratching the scab. True scars do not hurt. They are dead tissue, strong and resistant. They are just a mark on the skin that says, "There was a battle here, and I won." But you don't show scars. You go through life opening your stitches in public so they can see how much you bleed. That is the broken trophy. Throw it in the trash. The universe's disdain for feigned weakness. In Hermetic laws, in the study of quantum physics applied to consciousness, what we call Neville Goddard's law of assumption, pity is pure poison. The universe, the cosmic source, does not respond to what you need. It does not respond to what you implore. The universe responds strictly and mathematically to what you are, to the state of consciousness you occupy. If you occupy the state of broken beggar healing, the universe will send you more situations that confirm your brokenness. It will send you more people who treat you as someone fragile. It will send you more chaos so you have excuses to keep healing. The universe says, this person defines themselves by their trauma. Let's give them more trauma so they maintain their identity intact. But if you dare to open the box, if you dare to say, it's over. My horror story ended yesterday. Today I am the owner of the gold. If you assume the identity of perfect health, of abundance, of the untouchable creator, even if the wound still itches a little, the universe has to obey. Physical reality bows before a consciousness that refuses to be a victim. It is the rule of the echo. You have to shout greatness to hear greatness. If you shout misery, you will hear misery multiplied by 10. The decision to let go of the past. Letting go of your history of trauma does not mean forgetting that it occurred. It means you take the microphone away from it. It occurred. End of story. It does not define you. It is not the title of your book. It was just a footnote in chapter 2. The Roman general Julius Caesar is not remembered for the times he fell off his horse when he was a child. He is remembered for the empire he conquered. You are letting your biography be written by your falls, instead of writing it with your conquests. Starting today, you are forbidden from introducing yourself to the world through your wounds. The next time you meet someone, don't tell them how badly your ex treated you. Tell them about the monumental goals you are building for your future. The next time you go to a job interview or present a business, don't look for them to give you the opportunity, out of compassion or a pity quota. Demand the position because you are an unstoppable force of nature, because you have gold in your hands. Stop joining communities of lament. Get out of those Facebook groups or forums where people only compete to see who has more anxiety or who is more depressed. Collective suffering is a pit of dense gravity that will suck you to the bottom. Seek to surround yourself with titans. Seek those who open their box. Join the tables where ideas, money, quantum physics, pure creation, solutions, and empires are discussed. If you are the most depressed person at the table, you are at the wrong table. Chapter 4, The Why Me Trap. From why to what for. The analogy of muscle and resistance. You have opened the damn box. You have seen the shiny gold that lay buried under decades of emotional grime, under the thick layer of dust from your own victim narrative. You have accepted that complaining is poison and that blaming others is ceding your throne. You have stood up. And yet, as you look at your new sovereignty, as you hold the weight of your own responsibility, a dark and sticky voice echoes off the walls of your skull. It is your intellect. It is your ego rationalizing its last line of defense. Your mind, desperate not to lose control, throws at you the most dangerous, deceptive, and paralyzing question of all human experience. The question that has destroyed more futures than any war or economic crisis. You look in the mirror, remember the hell you've been through, and mutter, why? Why did I have to go through this? Why me? If I was the owner of the golden box from the beginning, why did the universe make me be born in poverty? If I deserved love, why did they send me a person who destroyed me? If I am a powerful creator, why did I get sick? Why did I have to lose that business? Why me, who has always tried to be a good person? Welcome to the dead end of the soul. Welcome to the why trap. Today we are going to take that question, we are going to strangle it, and we are going to throw it off a cliff. Because as long as you keep asking why, you will remain a mouse running in a hamster wheel. You will move a lot, you will sweat blood, but you won't advance. The siren song of why. You have to understand the anatomy of this question. The why me is not a genuine search for knowledge. You are not a scientist looking for the cure for a disease. You are a wounded child looking for the universe to apologize to you. When you ask why, what you are really saying in code is, "This is unfair, this was a mistake." It is the ultimate arrogance disguised as vulnerability. You believe that your human intellect, limited and tiny, has the capacity to judge the infinite and perfect engineering of the cosmos. You believe that your perspective, which is like looking at life through the eye of a needle, is superior to the panoramic vision of the all. But the neurological and metaphysical trap of why is even more perverse. Your brain is a search engine, exactly like Google. If you type into a search engine, "Why am I so miserable?" the algorithm will not return a consoling answer. It will return millions of results, articles, and evidence that confirm your misery. If you ask your brain, "Why me? Why do I always fail?" your subconscious mind will follow the order, dive into your memories, and bring you a detailed report. You fail because you are stupid. You fail because you have no talent. You fail because your parents didn't support you. You fail because the universe hates you. So asking why forces your mind to search in the past, and the past is a cemetery. You cannot build an empire by digging up corpses and asking them what they died of. The why makes you a forensic doctor of your own failure. You spend your life performing autopsies on your dead relationships and your broken dreams. Died from lack of funds, died from lack of affection. Congratulations, you have a perfect diagnosis of a corpse. And now what? Does that resurrect the dead? Does that put money in your account or love in your heart today? Absolutely not. The why is the pacifier of the emotionally immature. It comforts you, but it doesn't feed you. The fallacy of the judging universe. The root of this poisonous question is a childish belief that was instilled in you since you were little. The belief that the universe is a moral judge that rewards the good and punishes the bad with human logic. They taught you that if you behave well, you will get good grades and life will treat you with cotton. And then you go out into the real world, do everything right, and one day you are unfairly fired, or you are diagnosed with a disease, or your partner leaves you for someone else, and your brain collapses. The contract is broken. You shout, "I did things right. Why me?" Listen to me with all the coldness that maturity requires. The universe does not care about your human morality. Morality is a social invention so that we don't kill each other in the streets. But the universe operates through physical and quantum laws, not through rules of etiquette. The law of gravity does not forgive a kind elderly woman who falls out of a window, nor does it punish a thief faster. Gravity simply pulls down, at 9.8 meters per second squared, period. It is neutral, it is relentless, it is mathematically perfect. In the same way, the law of assumption and the mechanics of reality creation do not have moral preferences. If a selfish and arrogant man assumes with total vibrational certainty that he is a magnet for money, the universe will deliver millions, because he is fulfilling the physical law of resonance. If a kind, sweet woman who helps in soup kitchens assumes internally that money is bad and life is a vale of tears, the universe will keep her in absolute misery, because she is fulfilling the physical law of lack. The universe does not punish you or reward you. The universe responds to you. The pain you have experienced was not a cosmic punishment for a sin from a past life. It was not vengeful karma chasing you for having stolen a candy when you were 6 years old. To understand what that pain really is, so that you stop crying about the why and start using the brutality of life in your favor, I have to take you to a place where pain is celebrated, sought, and intentionally provoked. I have to take you to the largest voluntary torture chamber of modern society. I have to take you to the gym. The analogy of muscle and resistance. Imagine that you enter a gym for the first time in your life. You're a weak, fragile person without muscle tone. You approach the trainer and say with total determination, "I want to be strong. I want to have muscles of steel. I want to be a titan capable of lifting my own weight." The trainer looks at you, nods, and takes you in front of an iron bar. He loads heavy discs on each side. In total, there are 100 kilos of inert steel resting on the floor. The trainer points to the bar and says, "Lift it." You bend over, grab the cold metal, tense your body, and try to pull up. Instantly you feel a sharp pain, your muscles burn, your tendons feel like they are going to burst. The weight is brutal, crushing, relentless. Gravity is pulling that iron down with a force that seems evil to you. You release the bar, fall to your knees, look at the trainer with tears in your eyes and shout, "Why? Why is gravity so cruel to me? Why is this iron so heavy? Why do you make me suffer like this? I only wanted to be strong. I didn't ask to be crushed." If you did that in a real gym, people would laugh at you out loud. The trainer would look at you as if you were an idiot. He would tell you, "Idiot, gravity doesn't hate you. The iron has nothing personal against you. The weight is the mechanism. Resistance is the only way your muscles know they have to grow." This is basic physiology. For a muscle to grow, hypertrophy, it first has to be destroyed. When you lift a weight that exceeds your current capacity, your muscle fibers tear. They literally suffer micro-ruptures. Your body enters a state of alarm, of localized trauma. There is inflammation, there is pain. At that moment, from the perspective of the individual muscle cell, the apocalypse is occurring. The cell could shout, "Why me? I am breaking." But the infinite intelligence of the human body says, "We have been subjected to a load for which we were not prepared. The fibers have broken. Therefore, when we rebuild ourselves while this body sleeps, we cannot be the same again. We have to build thicker, denser, and stronger fibers so that the next time this crazy person tries to lift 100 kilos, we don't break." The pain of the tear is the non-negotiable price of adaptation. Without heavy resistance, without rupture pain, there is no hypertrophy. The muscle that finds no resistance atrophies and dies. The cosmic gym, real life. You ask the universe to be great. You asked to be a leader, to be rich, to find true love, to be invincible. You made your vision boards, you lit your candles, you decreed your success. You told the cosmic trainer, "I want to be a titan of reality." And what did you expect the universe to do? Did you expect it to inject strength into you by magic while you were sitting on the sofa watching series? No. The trainer took you to the bar and put 100 kilos of financial crisis on it. He put 100 kilos of romantic betrayal on it. He put 100 kilos of social rejection on it. He put 100 kilos of terrifying loneliness on it. Your problems, your tragedies, and your crises are not curses. They are the iron discs that the universe has loaded onto your bar. The universe does not hate you. Life is not unfair. Life is giving you exactly the amount of metaphysical resistance necessary to tear the weak fibers of your ego, destroy your comfort zone, and force you to develop the spiritual, emotional, and mental muscle you need to sustain the empire you asked for. When your business went bankrupt and you lost all your money, the muscle fiber of your traditional financial security broke. It hurt like hell. You cried. But that rupture forced you to study finance, to become relentless, to undertake with intelligence. Today, you know how to make money from nothing. If they hadn't taken away your comfortable job, you would have died being a mediocre employee. The dismissal was the weight. Your new wealth is the muscle. When that person you loved abandoned you in the cruelest way, the muscle fiber of your emotional dependence tore. You felt you were going to die of sadness. But that pain forced you to look inward, to heal your voids, and to discover that your value does not depend on a third party. Today you are an unbreakable person. The betrayal was the weight. Your titanium self-love is the muscle, and you keep crying on the gym floor, pointing at the bar and asking, "Why me? Get up, dry your tears, dry your sweat." There is no conspiracy against you. There is an elite training designed just for you. The reality-altering linguistic change, from why to what for. Here is the master key to exit the trap. The key is not in ignoring the pain, but in changing the angle from which you observe it. It is a millimeter linguistic adjustment, but one that has the power of an atomic bomb in your subconscious mind. From this instant, you are forbidden from using the expression, "Why me?" You are going to take that phrase and substitute it with two words that will automatically turn you into an alchemist. What for, or for what purpose? The why looks toward the past, seeking culprits, excuses, and laments. It anchors you in defeat. The what for looks toward the future, seeking purpose, utility, and advantages. It catapults you toward victory. Test it right now. Bring to your mind your worst misfortune. The wound that hurts you the most, ask yourself, why did this happen to me? Feel how your energy drops. Feel how you make yourself small. Feel how sadness and helplessness appear. Now erase that. Look in the mirror of your mind and ask yourself with fury and curiosity, what for did this happen to me? What muscle does the universe want me to develop with this ton of weight? What is this pain protecting me from in the long run? What skill am I about to unlock thanks to this hell? Feel how the energy changes radically. The what for assumes that the universe is intelligent. It assumes that every event, however dark it may seem, has a hidden intention designed to benefit you, as long as you are willing to extract the lesson. Imagine you are driving down a dark road and suddenly a tire on your car bursts. The car spins and you crash into a tree. You walk away unhurt, but your car is wrecked and you have lost the job interview of your life. The dog sitting on the nail would shout, "Damn luck, why me? The universe doesn't want me to progress." The alchemist, even with hands shaking from the crash, would look at the remains of the car and ask, "What for did this occur? The universe just stopped my progress in a violent way." Perhaps by not going to that interview, he avoided entering a toxic company. Perhaps the tow truck that came to pick up the car was driven by a person who would end up being his millionaire partner. Or perhaps simply the universe was telling him, you are not paying attention to the steering wheel of your life. The conscious creator knows there are no accidents. Every delay is a protection. Every denial from the universe is a redirection towards something 1,000 times larger. When you assume that everything happens for you and not to you, you become untouchable. The poison becomes medicine, the obstacle becomes the path, smashing the myth of the easy life. Part of your frustration with problems comes from a lie sold to you by the smoke merchants of the internet. Those crystal gurus who tell you that if you vibrate high, you will never have problems again. They sell you enlightenment as if it were a hammock on a Caribbean beach where it never rains. That is monumental stupidity. Listen to me carefully. The awakening of consciousness, metaphysical mastery, does not eliminate problems from your life. I repeat, assuming your creative power will not make the gym weights disappear. What it does is change your level. When you go to the gym and manage to lift 50 kilos with ease, the trainer doesn't tell you, "Cha, bravo, you are already strong, now sit and look at your phone for the rest of your life." What does the trainer do? He puts the 100-kilo bar on you. And when you lift 100 kilos, he puts the 150-kilo bar on you. As you become stronger, the weights become heavier. The tests become more complex, the challenges become monstrous. The difference is that the 50-kilo novice cries and believes the weight is a punishment. The 150-kilo elite athlete smiles, looks at the monstrous bar and says, "Thanks for the challenge." The great masters of humanity, the great visionaries, the billionaires, the leaders who changed the world, did they have easy lives? Were they free of problems? Of course not. They had the largest, most complex, and most terrifying problems on the planet. But they never asked, why me? They knew that a continent-sized spirit requires continent-sized problems to stay toned. If today you are facing a problem that seems to crush you, a problem that takes your breath away, do not lament. Feel honored. The universe just looked at you, evaluated your soul capacity, and decided that you have the balls and the strength enough to lift the 200-kilo bar. God does not give difficult battles to weak soldiers. God gives his wildest battles to his most relentless generals. The size of your problem is the exact indicator of the size of your destiny. If you have mediocre problems, you will have a mediocre life. If you are facing an apocalypse in your life, it is because the universe is preparing the landing strip for an epic resurrection. The mechanics of spiritual hypertrophy. To close this concept, you must understand the phases of training. In the physical gym, there are 3 non-negotiable phases. Tension, the effort, lifting the weight, struggling. Muscle failure, the limit. That moment where you can't go on. Rest, recovery. Here is where the growth occurs. In your emotional and financial life, it is identical. First comes tension, the crisis, the debt. You have to face it head on. Then comes muscle failure. Sometimes you will fail. You will fall to the ground exhausted. That is not the end of the world. It is just reaching the muscle failure of your current state. And finally, the key to success: quantum rest. You have to let go. You have to step away from the problem. You have to trust in the law of assumption, sleep in the state of the wish fulfilled, and let the universe rebuild the tissues of your reality while you are not interfering. If you go to the gym, break the muscle, and then don't sleep and don't eat, you don't grow, you injure yourself. If you have a crisis and spend 24 hours a day ruminating on the pain, asking why, without sleeping and filling yourself with anxiety, you don't grow, you atrophy mentally. The stress of the crisis must be followed by absolute surrender. I did what I could. I lifted the weight to failure. I broke. Now I let go of control, trust in the divine what for, and I retire to rest, knowing that the new reality is being rebuilt in my favor. Chapter 5. The Physics of Responsibility. You are the cause, not the effect. The analogy of the captain of the drifting ship. You have reached the middle of the road. The ground you tread now is sacred and dangerous territory. You have stopped being the dog crying over the nail. You have burned the court where you judged your parents and your ex-partners. You have thrown the broken trophy of your traumas in the trash and destroyed the why me mentality. Your mind is cleaner than ever. The noise has been turned off. But in that absolute silence, a monstrous truth arises. A truth so heavy, so cold, and so absolute that 99% of humanity prefers to live and die in ignorance rather than look it in the eye. If it is no longer the fault of your past, if it is no longer the fault of the universe, if there is no longer an archer to blame for the poisoned arrow, then who on earth is responsible for the current state of your life? You look at your hands, you look around you, and the answer hits you with the force of a freight train. You, only you. It has always been you. You are the material and intellectual author of every cent missing from your bank account. You are the architect of the loneliness you feel at night. You are the creator of the anxiety that suffocates you. You take a deep breath. The ego panics. It writhes, screams, seeks an emergency exit. No, I didn't ask for this disease. I didn't ask to be betrayed. I didn't want to be bankrupt. Listen to me with all the coldness and tough love that this moment requires. You did not ask for it with your conscious mouth, but you ordered it with your subconscious vibration. You allowed it with your broken boundaries. You attracted it with your chronic fear. Welcome to the physics of responsibility. Welcome to the most important quantum leap of your existence, the step from being the effect to becoming the cause. To help you assimilate this transition without going crazy, I have to take you to the middle of the ocean. I have to put you on board a vessel about to be swallowed by the abyss. Listen carefully to the story of the drifting captain. The analogy of the ship in the storm. Imagine an immense wooden galleon sailing in the middle of the open ocean. It is midnight. The sky is a black and hostile mantle. A storm of biblical proportions has broken out. Waves the size of 10-story buildings hit the hull of the ship with deafening violence. The wood creaks, threatening to splinter into 1,000 pieces. The wind howls like a demon, tearing the sails and breaking the masts. Freezing water floods the deck. The ship tilts dangerously to port, about to capsize. On the lower deck, the chaos is absolute. You are there, mixed with the crew. Everyone is screaming, crying, praying. They run back and forth, slipping in pools of salt water. You scream with them. You grab a sailor by the neck and demand answers. Why is the storm so cruel? Cursed be the wind, cursed be the sea that hates us. Another sailor, crying, shouts, "It's the fault of the cartographer who made this map. It's the fault of the shipyards that built such a weak ship." You join the chorus of laments. You curse the sea, you curse the clouds. You feel that death is imminent and that you are a poor victim of the fury of the elements. You are terrified, paralyzed by the helplessness of not being able to control nature. But suddenly a flash of lightning illuminates the darkness. Your gaze goes upward, toward the highest part of the stern, toward the bridge, the place from which the ship is governed. You realize something terrifying. There is no one giving orders. In a fit of desperation, you push the sailors aside. You climb the slippery wooden stairs almost on all fours, facing the hurricane-force wind. You are going to look for the captain. You are going to demand that he do something, that he turn the rudder, that he save us all. You reach the bridge, soaked, breathless. You look toward the great wooden rudder, and your heart stops. The rudder is spinning wildly without control. There is no one there. No, the bridge is empty. The ship is adrift at the mercy of the current because no one has their hands on the wheel. But that is not the most spine-chilling part. Behind the rudder, attached to the wall of the main cabin, is a huge mirror. And when you approach the rudder to try to stop it, you see yourself reflected in the glass. You see your own face disfigured by panic, and on your chest, hanging from your neck by a heavy gold chain, are the keys to the ship. And you are wearing, although you hadn't noticed due to the confusion of the storm, the captain's coat. The thunder rumbles and the truth pierces your soul like a sword of ice, is your soul. The captain is you. It was always you. You are not a sailor victim of the storm. You are the commander of this ship. What happened? That when the sea was calm, you got bored. You left the bridge, you went down to the lower deck to socialize with fears, to drink with complaints, to play cards with victimhood. You abandoned your post. You left the rudder tied with a loose rope called subconscious autopilot. The ship did not get into the storm because the sea hated you. The ship got into the eye of the storm because the rudder was spinning blindly, following the currents of your deepest fears, while the only man capable of changing course was below crying and blaming. Decoding the shipwreck. The law of cause and effect. This image is exactly what is happening with your existence at this moment. The universe, the sea, is neutral. It is not bad. It is not good. It is simply energy in motion, waiting to be directed. Your mind, your life, your body, and your bank account are the ship. Your thoughts, your emotions, and your unresolved traumas are the frightened crew. And your attention and your assumption are the hands on the rudder. The sixth principle of the Kybalion, the oldest Hermetic law, is called cause and effect. It says, every cause has its effect, every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. 99% of human beings live in the world of effects. They live reacting. If someone insults them, they get angry, effect. If they get paid, they are happy, effect. They are frightened sailors on the lower deck, letting themselves be hit by circumstances, believing that luck and fate decide for them. But the masters, the alchemists, the true creators, rise to the plane of causes. The master knows that the 3D physical reality he sees today, debt, illness, abandonment, is only the effect. It is the delayed echo of a past cause. It is the storm he got into for having abandoned the rudder yesterday. Therefore, the master does not cry for the storm. He runs to the bridge, grabs the rudder, his focus of attention, and dictates a new course. He knows the waves will keep hitting for a while due to physical inertia. He knows the ship will take time to turn, but he does not let go of the wheel, because he is the cause. Guilt versus responsibility, the vital distinction. When I tell you that you are responsible for everything bad that happens to you, your ego defends itself by confusing two concepts that have absolutely nothing to do with each other: guilt and responsibility. Guilt is a moral concept, invented by religion and society to keep you small, submissive, and depressed. Guilt looks toward the past. Guilt says, you did things wrong, you are defective, you deserve to be punished. When you feel guilt, your vibration falls to the basement of the universe. You curl into a ball and flagellate yourself. Responsibility, on the contrary, is a physical concept of pure power. The word comes from the Latin responsum, to respond, and ability. That is, the ability to respond. Responsibility looks toward the future. Responsibility says, I generated this unconsciously. As my internal laws operated perfectly to create this disaster, now I will use those same laws consciously to create an empire. Guilt is saying, I am stupid for having failed my business. I hate myself. You stay in the storm. Responsibility is saying, my fears of scarcity and my bad decisions attracted this bankruptcy. Fine. I am in command. I am going to change my financial beliefs, and I am going to rebuild this twice as big. You grab the rudder. Do not feel guilty for being at the bottom of the pit. When you were a child, you didn't know how to pilot the ship. When you were a teenager, society and school did not teach you quantum navigation. They taught you to be an obedient rower. You piloted blindly, you crashed, you sank. It is normal. Do not judge yourself for past accidents. But today, now that you are listening to my voice, now that I am showing you the mirror on the bridge, from this damn millisecond, You are responsible for whether the ship stays on the reef or if it goes out to the open sea. The theorem of creative destruction. If you created it, you destroy it. Here lies the most liberating metaphysical secret of all, the gift hidden within the bitter drink. Pay close attention, because if you understand this phrase, your life will change before the day is over. The fact that your life is an absolute disaster today is the irrefutable proof that your creative powers work perfectly. Let me explain it to you. If you were a person with fear of abandonment, with the subconscious belief that everyone betrays you, and you managed to materialize in the physical 3D world a person who indeed abandoned and betrayed you, congratulations, you are an elite manifester. You have managed to make flesh-bone circumstances and cosmic events bend and mold exactly to the measure of your internal belief. Your rudder works perfectly. The problem is not that you have no power, you have terrifying power. The problem is that you are using your creative laser beam to shoot yourself in the foot. You are manifesting misery with a 100% effectiveness level. And here is the golden rule of radical responsibility. The Creator is always greater than his creation. If you, with your vibration of fear, created a debt of $100,000, you are the cause, and the debt is the effect. If you change the cause, if you grab the rudder and assume the identity of abundance, the effect has no choice but to obey and dissolve. The monster that terrifies you in your life was drawn by your own hand. If you grabbed the pencil to draw it, you have the magic eraser to delete it. If you believe the government or the economy created your poverty, then you need the government to make you rich, and that is never going to happen. But if you assume, with a pair of ovaries or a pair of balls, that you created your own poverty through your ignorance and laziness, then you have the key to the gold vault. Tomorrow you can start reading, learning high-value skills, reprogramming your mind and making it rain money. If you created it, you can destroy it. Assuming guilt sinks you. Assuming the cause makes you invincible. The disease of washing the mirror. There is a widespread mental illness in the world of superficial personal development. People try to change the effects without touching the cause. Imagine you get up in the morning, go to the bathroom, look in the mirror, and see that you have a huge mud stain on your forehead. What do? Do you grab a rag, put soap on it and start rubbing the mirror glass desperately to erase the stain? Anyone would tell you that you are crazy. The mirror does not have the stain. The mirror only reflects what is on the original object, your face. If you want to remove the stain, you have to wash your own forehead. The mirror will change instantly by default. Well, I regret to inform you that you have been rubbing the mirror glass like a maniac for years. The mirror is physical reality. You have money problems, the stain on the mirror, and what do? You get a second job you hate, you work 16 hours, you fight with the world, rubbing. But you do not change your poor identity. You do not feel deserving. You do not change the cause. And in the end you get tired and the stain is still there. You have a toxic partner, the stain on the mirror. And what do? You argue, you scream, you take them to therapy, you control their phone, you try to manipulate, rubbing. But you do not change your emotional dependence. You still feel terror at being alone. And in the end the partner leaves you, or you resign yourself to hell. The physics of responsibility demands that you let go of the mirror. Physical reality, external circumstances, have no decision-making power of their own. They are a shadow projected by the light of your consciousness. Stop trying to change your boss, your partner, politicians, or your bank balance through brute force. Turn your face. Wash yourself. Go inside. Change the belief. Change the assumption. Clean the fear. Assume that you are a high-value person, respected, abundant, and sovereign. At first, when you look in the mirror, it will seem like the stain is still there. Remember the inertia of the ship. But if you stay firm in the cause, the physical mirror will rearrange itself and reflect your new golden face. Toxic people will leave your life on their own without you having to fight. Financial opportunities will seek you out. Your body will heal because it will no longer be poisoned by the stress of a cowardly captain. The solitude of the captain in command. Climbing to the bridge and grabbing the rudder has a price that not everyone is willing to pay. The absolute solitude of the Creator. When you were a victim on the lower deck, you were surrounded by other crying sailors. They hugged you. They patted you. You had belonging to the tribe of the wretched. But the bridge is empty. The captain is alone before the ocean, before the stars, and before the storm. Starting today, you can no longer go down to cry with the crew. You can no longer go complain to your friends that things are not working, because if you do, your ship will drift immediately. The captain does not have the luxury of public desperation. The captain holds the course in silence, with clenched teeth, knowing he is the ultimate authority of his microcosm. That cold wind of solitude on the face is the wind of real freedom. You do not need anyone to approve of you. You do not need pity. Your only responsibility is to keep the vibration of the ship pointing toward the promised land, no matter what happens outside. Chapter 6. The Energy Vampire. How your victim attitude attracts leeches and the parable of the man who carried others' stones. You have taken the helm. The storm is still out there, but you are no longer on the lower deck crying with the crew. You are the captain. You have assumed radical responsibility for your existence. You know that if you created the disaster, you have the absolute power to destroy it and rebuild an empire. You feel powerful. You feel invincible. Blood flows through your veins again with a fire you haven't felt in years. But just as you prepare to turn the wheel toward a new horizon, you feel a dead weight. You feel something pulling you down. A sudden tiredness. A sticky doubt. An irrational guilt. You look around on the bridge and realize you are not as alone as you thought. The creatures that fed on you when you were at the bottom of the pit have climbed the stairs. They have noticed that your light has turned on and have come to devour it. Welcome to the inevitable confrontation with energy vampires. They don't have fangs. They don't fear garlic or sunlight. They walk in broad daylight. They sleep in your bed. They share your table at Thanksgiving. They work at the desk next to yours. Sometimes they even share your same blood. They are the emotional parasites of the Matrix. They have been draining your vital force for years with your total and absolute consent. Today we are going to unmask them. We are going to understand why you attracted them magnetically in the first place, and most importantly, we are going to learn the ruthless art of emotional amputation. The anatomy of the vampire and the victimhood magnet. An energy vampire is in essence a bankrupt soul. It is a person who has flatly refused to connect with their own source, with their own golden box, as we saw in Chapter 3. They have decided it is too difficult to generate their own energy, so they have opted for the parasitic path, stealing energy from others. How do they do it? They don't steal the money from your wallet, they steal your attention and your emotion. They operate through chronic drama, constant complaining, manipulation, emotional blackmail, and perpetual crisis. They always have an unsolvable problem. They are always the victims of the world. They always need you to listen to them, to save them, to give them advice which they will never follow, or to fix their lives. But the brutal question you must ask yourself today is not, why are there so many toxic people around me? That is a victim's question. The captain's question is, what is it in me that attracts them? The answer is going to hurt. You attracted them because you spoke their same language. When you were sitting on the nail of complaint, when you were the beggar displaying your broken trophy, you emitted a vibrational frequency of low density. You emitted the signal of an easy prey, or worse, an accomplice, Vampires do not attack sovereign lions. Vampires attack wounded animals that are already bleeding. Your lack of boundaries, your pathological terror of people disliking you, your desperate need to feel useful so someone would validate you. All of that was a bright neon sign on your forehead. The sign said, "Bar open, come drink my energy for free." And they came. Boy, did they come. They settled in your life. They used you as an emotional trash can. They called you at 3 in the morning to cry about the same toxic partner for the 1,000th time. They borrowed money they never returned. They made you feel guilty when you tried to put yourself first. And you allowed it. You allowed it by disguising it with a very noble and very false word, empathy. You told yourself, it's just that I'm very empathetic. I'm a good person. I can't abandon them in their suffering. Lie, you are not empathetic, you are weak. You are suffering from the savior syndrome. You believe that by fixing the lives of others, you won't have to face the terror of fixing your own. To see the stupidity and lethal danger of this savior syndrome, I have to take you to the side of a steep mountain. I have to tell you the story of a man who confused kindness with suicide. The parable of the man who carried others' stones. Once upon a time there was a traveler who had to undertake a long and difficult ascent toward the peak of a great mountain. At the top was the Crystal City, a place of abundance, peace, and wisdom. His final destination. The traveler prepared well. He carried a light backpack with only the essentials. He had a little water, a little bread, and a rope. His pace was agile, his breathing steady. He knew the path was steep, but he was fit and determined to arrive. A few hours after starting to climb, he met a man sitting by the side of the road. The man was crying inconsolably next to a grey rock the size of a melon. "What is wrong, good man?" asked the traveller, stopping. "Woe is me," moaned the man. "I have to carry this rock to the top. It is my burden, my duty. But my legs are tired, my back hurts. The world is so cruel to me. You look so strong, so agile. Your pack is so light. Would you be so kind as to carry my rock?" The traveller, feeling pity and wanting to prove he was a good person, smiled with compassion. "Of course, you are my brother on the road. I will carry it for you." The traveller took the heavy grey rock, put it in his backpack, and kept climbing. The man who was crying stood up and began walking behind him, whistling. The traveller noticed the difference immediately. The backpack now dug into his shoulders. His pace slowed down, but he said to himself, "I am strong. I can handle this." A kilometre higher, they came across a woman who was screaming and cursing the sky, kicking 2 sharp black rocks. "It's unfair," she shouted. "No one helps me, everyone abandons me." The traveller, sweating, stopped again. "Ma'am, calm down. Can I help you?" "You seem like someone who knows how to listen," she said, changing her tone to one of a helpless victim. "My husband left me these 2 rocks and fled. My life is a misery. Could you please put them in your backpack? Just until the next shelter." The traveller, whose ego inflated at being seen as the saviour, nodded. He opened his backpack and put the 2 black rocks inside. Now he carried his water, his bread, the grey rock of the first man, and the 2 black rocks of the woman. As the day progressed, the scene repeated itself. A depressed young man handed him a rock of anxiety. A resentful old man passed him a rock of guilt. A failed friend threw him a rock of debt. Everyone used the same tactic. They appealed to his kindness, praised his strength, and complained of their own weakness. Halfway up the mountain, the situation was critical. The traveller's backpack was monstrously large and heavy. The straps had cut the skin of his shoulders, leaving them raw. He walked hunched over, almost crawling, with gasping breath and eyes blind with sweat and pain. His knees trembled, threatening to break. Behind him walked a cheerful procession of people without luggage. They chatted, laughed, and enjoyed the scenery. None of them looked at the agony of the traveller ahead, carrying everyone's stones. Finally, the traveller's legs gave out. He fell face down against the earth with a dull thud. The giant backpack crushed him against the ground. He tried to get up, but it was impossible. His heart beat 1,000 miles an hour, on the verge of collapse. He couldn't breathe. The procession of people reached where he lay on the ground. The first man, the one with the grey rock, looked at him with disappointment. "Wow, I thought you were stronger. How selfish of you to stop now when we need to reach the top." The woman with the black rocks added, "Typical. Another person failing me. No one is reliable." And one by one, they stepped over the traveller's fallen body, leaving him there in the dust, crushed under the weight of problems. Decoding the parable, the suicide of false empathy. If you have ever felt physically, mentally, and spiritually exhausted for no apparent reason, it is because your backpack is full of grey and black stones that do not belong to you. You are carrying your mother's pain, your brother's financial crises, your co-workers' complaints, and your partner's existential void. And worst of all, you believe that by doing so you are a saint. You believe you are earning points for heaven. Let me tell you the crude cosmic reality. You are not a saint. You are a thief. Yes, you heard right. You are a metaphysical thief. In Chapter 4, I explained the gym analogy. I explained that problems, the weights, are the exact mechanism that the universe designs to the measure of each soul so that it develops its spiritual hypertrophy and grows. When an energy vampire comes to complain to you, the universe is putting a 50-kilo bar on them so they can become strong. And what do you do with your savior complex? You run over, push the person aside, grab their 50-kilo bar, and lift it yourself for them. You herniate your back, you get exhausted, depressed, run out of money, and the vampire stays sitting there watching without developing a single gram of muscle. You have stolen their lesson. You have stolen their opportunity for hypertrophy. You have turned them into a chronic, useless person dependent on you. You are not helping. You are boycotting the training that infinite intelligence designed for that person. The energy vampire loves this. And they are indignant when you stop doing it. As you saw in the parable, the day you fall, the day you finally say, "I can't take it anymore," the vampires don't thank you. They are offended. They call you selfish. They attack you because you cut off their supply. The siren song of the guilt tripper. The vampire's favorite tactic for putting the stone in your backpack is guilt. It is their weapon of mass destruction. Since they know they cannot force you by physical strength to give them your time, your money, or your energy, they use psychological manipulation. They tell you poisoned phrases like, "After everything I've done for you, if you really loved me, you would. You who are so strong, smart, rich, should understand my situation. You don't care about my suffering." These phrases are daggers designed to pierce your shield of sovereignty. If you still have traces of the beggar inside you, if you still need validation to feel like a good person, the dagger will go all the way in. You will feel terrible. You will open your backpack, and you will accept the stone. You have to become impermeable to guilt. Guilt is an imaginary tax that manipulators charge you for daring to be free and happy, while they decide to remain miserable. You have no obligation to sink in the ship with them, just out of solidarity. Solidarity is not drowning together. Solidarity is getting into the lifeboat and throwing them a rope. The quantum exorcism, the power of the word no. How do you get rid of an energy vampire? How do you empty the backpack? You don't need garlic or wooden stakes. You need the most powerful, magical, and terrifying word in the human dictionary, no. A dry, clear, serene no, without justifications. The biggest mistake you make is explaining too much. The vampire asks to borrow money or calls you to complain for 2 hours, and you start to stutter, "Oh, well, you see, I had a very busy day today and my head hurts, and my bank account is low because I had an expense, and I hope you understand." When you justify your no, you are giving tactical information. If you say, "I don't have time," the vampire will say, "Don't worry, I'll call you tomorrow." If you say, "I don't have money," the vampire will say, "I only need a little, I'll pay you back Friday." The sovereign, the eagle, the captain of the ship, does not justify himself. The captain says, "No, I cannot. No, I am not going to speak ill of that person with you. No, today I don't have the energy to listen to your problems. I wish you the best, but I have to hang up." Silence. Full stop. The vampire will be in shock. They will try to attack you. They will call you selfish. Let them get angry. That anger is not yours. It is the tantrum of a parasite whose blood supply hose has just been ripped away. It hurts at first. There is resistance. There is social friction. But the peace that follows after the vampire leaves to find another more docile victim is the peace of paradise. False love versus sovereign love. Many confuse setting boundaries with being a cold person or lacking love, especially if the vampire is your own mother, your father, or your child. This is where most falter. "It's my blood," they say. "I can't abandon them." Biology is not an excuse for emotional tyranny. A vampire with your same last name is still a vampire. True love, sovereign love, sometimes requires an apparent cruelty. If you have a family member addicted to drugs, do you give them money to buy more poison just because you love them and they are suffering? No. You close the door. You tell them, "I love you too much to finance your suicide. When you want to go to rehab, I'll be here. As long as you keep using, don't count on me." That is real love. It is setting the limit that the other is unable to set for themselves. The same applies to the addiction to complaining. If your partner or friend spends their life complaining, but does absolutely nothing to get out of their hole, listening to them patiently every day is financing their addiction. The greatest act of love is to say, "I love you, but I refuse to keep listening to your laments. You are a powerful creator." Vibrational quarantine. When you start to clean your ship, you're going to go through a phase of extreme solitude. This is called the vibrational quarantine. By ceasing to vibrate at the frequency of the victim and the savior, 80% of the people in your old environment will disappear. They will leave on their own. Your phone will stop ringing, your weekends will empty out, and your monkey mind, chapter 4, will panic. I'm all alone. No one loves me. Calm down. That solitude is not a punishment. It is a cleaning space. If you empty a room full of trash, it looks giant and cold at first. You have to endure the echo of the void for a while before you start bringing in luxury furniture. If you bring back trash out of fear of the void, you will have lost all the work. Endure the quarantine. Enjoy the silence. Enjoy the lightness of your backpack. Soon you will attract other agile travelers. Chapter 7. Murdering Hope. Why hoping for things to improve is for cowards, certainty as a weapon, and the analogy of the two prisoners. The ship is yours. You have taken the helm with bloody hands and thrown the energy vampires overboard. The deck is clean. The silence in your mind begins to feel like conquered territory. You have stopped crying, you have stopped blaming the past, and you have stopped begging for attention. You are looking toward the dark horizon, toward the storm that still rages, but this time you do so with a clenched jaw and the cold gaze of the Creator. You are ready to manifest. You are ready to command the storm to calm and for abundance, love, and power to materialize in your physical life. But just when you are about to give the order, just when you are about to claim your throne, you discover there is one more stowaway on your ship. A saboteur you didn't see coming because it doesn't have the shape of a demon, a monster, or a vampire. It has the shape of a radiant angel. A beautiful, bright angel who speaks to you with a sweet voice and says, "Calm down, everything is going to be fine, we just have to wait. Time heals everything. The universe will provide when the time is right. Have faith, have hope." Today in this 7th chapter, I'm going to ask you to do something that will scandalize your entire moral, religious, and social education. I'm going to ask you to commit a metaphysical murder. I want you to grab that angel by the neck and drown it in the sea. I want you to murder hope. The great lie: hope is the last thing you lose. Since you were born, you have been programmed with one of the most mediocre and paralyzing phrases in human history. Hope is the last thing you lose. You have been taught that hope is a supreme virtue, that when everything goes wrong, when you are broke, when your heart is broken, all you have left is to have hope. Listen to me with all the brutality I am capable of. Hope is the emotion of beggars. Hope is the anesthesia the system injects into your vein so you don't rebel, so you don't act, so you stay still in your misery while trusting that an external savior will come to pull you out of the pit. Let's analyze the vibrational anatomy of hope. When you say, "I hope my business works," "I hope this person calls me," "I hope to get out of these debts," what are you really telling infinite intelligence? What signal is your subconscious sending to the quantum matrix? You are sending the signal of absolute doubt. You are saying, "I don't have it. I don't know if I'm going to have it. I don't control the result, and I depend on an external factor that is out of my hands." In the physics of reality creation, the law of assumption, the universe does not give you what you hope will happen. The universe is a blind and deaf mirror that only reflects what you are and what you assume as a non-negotiable fact. Hope vibrates at the frequency of lack. If you hope money arrives, the universe says, "This person is in a state of waiting for money. Granted, I will give them more situations where they must keep waiting." And that is how you spend your life. In the universe's waiting room, reading old magazines, watching how sovereign creators enter through the VIP door while you continue awaiting your turn. Hope is cowardice disguised as patience. It is the consolation of those who do not have the guts to demand their birthright. To understand the lethal difference between the poison of hope and the nuclear weapon you must wield starting today, I have to take you to the darkest, coldest, and most desperate place on earth. I have to take you to a medieval dungeon. Pay close attention to the story of the two men locked underground, the analogy of the two prisoners. Imagine a subterranean dungeon, solid stone walls 3 meters thick, total darkness broken only by a tiny ray of light filtering through an unreachable crack in the ceiling, stale air, humidity that chills the bones. In this cell, there are two prisoners. Both have been sentenced to life imprisonment by a tyrant king. Prisoner A is a man of traditional faith, a man full of hope. Every day, Prisoner A kneels in the center of the cell, joins his hands, looks toward the tiny ray of light and prays, "Please, let the king change his mind. I hope the guards have mercy on us. I hope a rebel army comes and takes the castle to free us. I hope that tomorrow, when they open the door to throw us bread, they leave the keys by mistake. I know that if I am good and wait with patience, life will reward me." Prisoner A is an optimist. He tries to keep his spirits up. He sings songs of freedom to the darkness. He visualizes the sun on his face. But when he finishes praying, he sits in his corner, crosses his arms, and waits. Prisoner B is different. He is not kneeling. He is not praying. He is not waiting for a damn miracle from heaven, nor the king's mercy, nor the guard's stupidity. Prisoner B has no hope. He has something infinitely more dangerous and powerful: certainty. He knows he is not going to die in that cell. He doesn't desire it. He assumes it as a mathematical fact. Since he has the absolute certainty that he is going to get out, his brain doesn't waste energy on pleading. His brain looks for the how. While Prisoner A prays, Prisoner B grabs the rusty metal spoon he was given with the soup. He goes to the darkest corner of the cell, behind the bucket of excrement, where the guards don't look, and he starts to scrape the mortar from the stone. Scrape, scrape, and scrape. The spoon breaks. Prisoner B does not lament. He starts using his nails. His nails break. He uses the bones of the rats that die in the cell. His fingers bleed. A month passes. Prisoner A is still on his knees, waiting for the pardon, getting thinner, more hopeless because the miracle doesn't arrive. Prisoner B has managed to remove an entire stone from the wall. A year passes. Prisoner A has lost the light in his eyes. Hope, having not been fulfilled, rots and turns into resentment. Now he blames God. He blames the universe. He blames the king. He gives up and lies down to wait for death. Prisoner B is covered in dust. His hands are a mass of scars, but the tunnel is already 2 meters deep. 3 years pass. One morning, the guards open the iron cell. They find Prisoner A dead in his corner. He died of starvation, of cold, and above all, he died of a broken heart from unrequited hope. A corpse with knees worn out from so much pleading. The guards look toward the other side of the cell. Prisoner B is not there. Behind the bucket, there is a black hole that connects to the sewers and empties into the river outside. Prisoner B, with destroyed hands but lungs full of fresh air, is breathing freedom miles away. Decoding the dungeon. The religion of I wish. If you are reading this and your life is not what you desire, you are in that cell. The cell of debt, the cell of a sick body, the cell of loneliness, the cell of professional frustration. The question that will blow your mind today is, who are you in the darkness? The one who prays or the one who scrapes the stone? For years you have been Prisoner A. You have been infected by the religion of I wish. I wish they'd give me a raise. I wish I'd meet someone who values me. I wish this business works, so I finally stay afloat. Let's see what happens. If God wills, things will improve. Every time you say I wish, you are externalizing your power. You are saying, it doesn't depend on me, it depends on a capricious God who throws the dice in the clouds. But Hermeticism and universal laws teach us that God is not a bearded man sitting on a throne, judging who deserves a promotion and who deserves ruin. God, the source, the quantum field, pure consciousness, is the substance of which you are made. You are the branch of the tree. You are the drop of the ocean. God does not want or stop wanting things for you. God experiences himself through you. If you say, I can't, the infinite force within you says, agreed, we can't, shutting down engines. If you say, I will do it whatever it costs, the infinite force says, agreed, turning on creative machinery, opening paths. Hope is waiting passively. Certainty is the crushing conviction that the tunnel already exists. Certainty, the ego's weapon of mass destruction. If we are going to murder hope, we have to replace it immediately with something, or you will leave a void that will fill with despair. The substitute is radical certainty. What is certainty? It is the state of absolute assumption. It is the capacity of your mind to accept a fact as real before your physical senses give proof. Prisoner B did not hope to be free. He knew he was free. He dug with his bloody nails not to see if it worked. He dug because in his mind he was already walking through the forest. The action of digging was only the mechanical process of putting the physical body in the same coordinate his mind already occupied. Certainty is arrogant toward the evidence of the material world. When you operate from certainty, the 3D world shouts in your face, "You're broke, look at your debts." Hope would say, "Oh, it's true. I wish this changes soon." Certainty makes you look debt in the eye, smile with contempt and say, "This is only the echo of the past. I am already a millionaire. This is a temporary mirage while my new reality materializes. Now, hand me the spoon. I'm going to keep digging." Certainty eliminates anxiety. Why didn't prisoner B cry while his nails broke? Because he knew the final result. If you knew with the same certainty with which you know the sun will rise tomorrow that in 6 months you will have the exact life of your dreams, would you stress today if someone says no to a project? Of course not, you would laugh. The lie of time heals all. Another of the great poisons derived from hope is the belief that time is a magical entity that resolves problems. Give time some time. Time heals everything. Trash. Time heals absolutely nothing. Time does not build empires. Time does not make you wiser. Time is only a metric, an empty conveyor belt. If you have an infected wound and say, "Time will heal it," and sit to wait, time will pass, the infection will reach the blood, and time will kill you. What heals the wound is action executed within time. If you have a broken heart and say, "Time will heal it," you can spend 20 years locked in your house and still be bitter. Time did nothing. What heals a heart is the reconfiguration of your beliefs, acceptance, forgiveness, and focus on a new purpose during the passage of time. Time is not your savior. Time is the space the matrix gives you so that you, the creator, dig the tunnel. Every day you spend having hope is a day you threw the spoon on the ground and stayed looking at the wall expecting it to collapse on its own. It's not going to collapse. The wall has no feelings. The wall respects the physics of stone. You have to chip the damn stone. The cancer of "let's see what happens." The cousin phrase of "I wish" is the terrifying "let's see what happens." I'm going to start this business to see what happens. I'm going to try this relationship to see what happens. That is the statement of a tourist, not a warrior. He who says, "Let's see what happens," goes to the world as a spectator in a cinema. He who has certainty is not going to see what happens. He is going to make it happen. Imagine a surgeon about to perform open-heart surgery on you. He looks at you and says, "Well, I'm going to open your chest to see what happens. I hope it turns out well." You would run out of the operating room. However, that is how you operate with your own life. You treat your goals, your wealth, your family, your soul with the attitude of a casino gambler tossing a coin in the air. Life is not a casino for one who knows the rules. Life is a blank canvas applied with the millimetric intention of an artist. Despair is clean fuel. Sometimes to reach certainty, you first have to go through total despair. And I don't mean the despair of crying, but that cold, metallic despair that arises when you realize that nobody, absolutely nobody, is coming to save you. Realize it today. Nobody is coming. The Prince Charming is not coming. A billionaire investor is not coming to knock on your door if you have nothing built. The government is not going to pull you out of poverty. It's more interested in you being dependent. Your family has its own hells to deal with. You are alone in the cell. The hope of rescue keeps you weak. The despair of knowing it's either me or no one gives you superhuman strength. When you know you are alone against the stone wall, you stop crying and start looking at the rusty spoon as if it were the most sacred tool in the world. Certainty is continuing to dig in the dark at 3 in the morning with bloody hands, knowing that every centimeter of dust you remove is 1 centimeter less toward your freedom. Destroying the fear of failure. Your mind right now recoils. But if I assume the certainty that I'm going to be successful and then I fail, the disappointment will be devastating. That's why I prefer to have low hope, so as not to get too excited. That is the masterpiece of the fearful ego. Playing to lose from the start so it doesn't hurt to lose. That is, you decide to live your whole life in misery at 10% capacity, just to protect yourself from the possible temporary pain of failing. That is the absolute guarantee of a mediocre life. The captain of certainty does not fear failure. because he knows that temporary failure is simply muscle failure. If you are digging the tunnel with the certainty of getting out, and the spoon breaks, certainty does not say, "Oh no, God doesn't want me free." Certainty says, "This spoon is no longer useful. I will look for a bone. I will use my nails." The final goal is non-negotiable. The how to get there is what adapts. The universe tests candidates for creators. The universe throws the door in your face on purpose to see how you react. If you are told no and you collapse, the universe says, "Test failed." This human still operates with conditional hope. Back to the line. If you are told no and you smile, turn around and go to the next door with the same overwhelming attitude, the universe says, "Matrix alert, we have a sovereign. Lay out the red carpet. This human is not going to stop until they get it. Better to give it to them now." Chapter 8. Useful pain versus useless suffering. Pain is physical and inevitable. Suffering is an optional mental movie, the parable of the two arrows. You are digging your tunnel. You have murdered empty hope and armed yourself with the absolute certainty of your freedom. Your hands are dirty with soil, but for the first time in your life, you are moving in the right direction. The helm is yours, and the stone wall is beginning to give way. But suddenly, crack! While digging in the darkness, your hand hits a sharp rock you hadn't seen. The stone cuts your flesh deeply. Blood begins to gush. Physical pain pierces your arm like an electric shock. You fall to your knees in the cell. You grab your wounded hand. It hurts like hell. It hurts. And here, in this precise millisecond between the cut and your reaction, is where it is defined, whether you are a sovereign creator or if you return to being a slave. Your monkey mind, that one we tried to tame in previous chapters, turns on like an anti-aircraft alarm and begins to scream, "See? I told you it was no use digging. The universe hates me. Whenever I try to get ahead, I get hurt. I'm going to bleed out here. It's unfair. I don't deserve this." Silence. Cut the scene. Today, we are going to dismantle the last psychological trap that keeps you caught in the cycle of drama. Today, you are going to learn to separate biological reality from the fiction of your ego. We are going to talk about the monumental, abysmal, and definitive difference between pain and suffering, because the most toxic lie that plastic modern spirituality has sold you is that when you awaken, you stop feeling pain. That is trash. You are in a body of flesh, bone, and a central nervous system designed to alert you to dangers. As long as you are alive in this three-dimensional plane, you're going to feel pain. It is non-negotiable. But suffering is a morbid luxury that you decide to pay for. It is an optional mental movie. To understand the exact mechanics of how you torture yourself every day, I have to take you back thousands of years. I must take you to a forest in ancient India, where the man we know today as Buddha gave his disciples the most brutal and advanced psychology class in history. The parable of the two arrows, Salatha Sutta. Buddha walked through the forest surrounded by his monks. He stopped under the shade of a large tree, sat down, and looked at his students, who often became frustrated because, despite meditating and following the teachings, they continued to feel sadness, illness, or loss. Buddha raised his hand and asked them a question. "Tell me, monks, if a man is walking through the forest and suddenly a hidden archer fires an arrow at him that pierces his arm, will that man feel pain?" The monks nodded immediately. "Of course, teacher, he will feel great physical pain." Buddha nodded. "That is right. That is the inevitable pain of life. The first arrow." Now imagine that same man, while bleeding and writhing from the first arrow, is struck a second later by a second arrow, exactly in the same open wound. Will not his pain and torment be infinitely worse? "It would be unbearable suffering, teacher," replied the monks. Buddha looked at them with deep compassion and revealed the truth. "You in your ignorance go through life firing the second arrow at yourselves." The monks looked at each other confused. Buddha continued, "When in life you experience a loss, an illness, or a tragedy, that is the first arrow. It is the arrow of the world. It is inevitable. It hurts in the body, it hurts in the heart. But immediately afterward, your mind reacts. You begin to resist. You begin to scream, 'Why is this happening to me? It's unfair. I wish it hadn't happened. The world is cruel. What did I do to deserve this?' That resistance, that mental complaint, that terror of the future, that is the second arrow. Buddha paused so that the weight of his words would fall upon them and concluded, "The archer fires the first arrow, but you fire the second at yourself. The pain of the first arrow is a physical, clean event that nature knows how to heal. But the suffering of the second arrow is a mental poison, dirty and eternal, created by yourself. The wise man feels the first arrow in all its intensity, but refuses to fire the second at himself." Decoding the fiction, the anatomy of your mental movie. This parable is the scalpel with which we are going to operate on your mind today. Think about it with forensic coldness. Practically all the hell you are living today is not the cut from the first arrow. It is the infection caused by the second. Imagine that your partner from one day to the next sits in front of you and says, "I don't love you anymore, I'm leaving." They pack their things and close the door. That is the first arrow. It is an objective fact in space-time. A physical body has left the building. At a biological and emotional level, it hurts. Your brain registers a loss, a drop in oxytocin. You feel a knot in your stomach, you cry, you feel empty. It is the clean pain of grief. It lasts a while, the wound scars over and life goes on. But you don't do that. You don't settle for clean pain. As soon as the door closes, you grab the bow and start riddling yourself with second arrows. Shot 1. I am a failure in love. No one will ever love me. Shot 2. I'm a loser. Shot 3. I wasted the best years of my life with this person. Shot 4. I'm going to be alone forever and die surrounded by cats. Cut. Stop filming this trash movie. Nothing of what you just said is an objective fact. It is all a science fiction, horror, and drama film directed, produced and starring your own terrified ego. The real fact is that a person left. Suffering is the narrative you invent about what it means that the person has gone. Another example. The bank account. You get a notification from the bank. Your account is in the red. You can't pay this month's rent. First arrow. There are no numbers on the screen. There is a problem to solve. Second arrow. I am useless with money. My parents were right, I will never amount to anything. If they throw me out on the street, I'll end up under a bridge. The system is against me. You have just paralyzed yourself. You are so wounded by your own mental arrows that you don't even have energy to find a solution to the first arrow. The biological function of pain, the clean fire. To stop firing second arrows, you first have to lose your fear of the first. You have to understand that pain is not a programming error by God. It is an absolutely perfect and necessary feedback mechanism. If you put your hand on a lit stove, the sharp pain, first arrow, makes you withdraw your hand instinctively. The pain saves your life. You don't stay with your hand in the fire thinking, "Why does the stove hate me? Why is thermodynamics so cruel to me?" Second arrow. You simply remove your hand. Emotional pain works exactly the same way. If you feel the pain of deep loneliness, it is not a punishment. It is the fire of the stove burning. It is the universe giving you feedback that says the level of connection you have with yourself and your environment is defective. You have to move. If you feel the pain of financial failure, it is the stove saying, your belief model about money or your execution in the market is incorrect. Adjust the strategy. Pain is clean fire. It burns fast, destroys the old and leaves space for the new. When you allow yourself to feel the pain of a failure without adding the narrative of "I am a loser," the pain lasts as long as it has to last, hours, days, and then disappears, leaving you a crystal clear lesson. The first arrow is extracted and you go on. The gangrene of suffering, resistance, and persistence. But when you fire the second arrow of the mental narrative, when you start ruminating on the past and terrifying yourself about the future, you turn clean fire into a radioactive swamp. You turn pain, a verb in motion, into suffering, a stagnant noun. Suffering is nothing more than resistance to what is. As I taught you in Chapter 8 about neutrality, when you judge reality and resist it by saying, "This shouldn't be happening," you are fighting against the inertia of the entire universe. Master Carl Jung summarized it in one of the most lethal phrases in psychology: what you resist persists. If you resist being sad, if you get angry with yourself for crying, you have just multiplied your sadness. Now you are sad for what you lost, and you are angry for being sad. Double load. The ego believes that if it turns the problem over and over in its head, second arrow, it will somehow solve it. But suffering does not solve problems, it freezes them. Imagine you are in the middle of a river of fast waters. The current drags you. The first arrow is the cold water, the hits against the stones. It hurts. But if you relax and flow, the river eventually spits you out on the shore. The second arrow is trying to swim against the current, screaming and fighting the water. You are going to exhaust yourself, you will swallow water, and you will drown. The river is stronger than you. Reality is stronger than your opinion of it. Surrender to the first arrow, accept that the water is cold. The victim's pride and the addiction to the second arrow. If firing the second arrow is so stupid and destructive, why do we do it? Why are we so masochistic? We return to the dark secret of chapter 3, because it gives us identity. Clean pain has no ego. If you cut your finger with a knife while cooking, it hurts, it bleeds, you put on a band-aid and that's it. You don't call all your friends to tell them you are the survivor of the kitchen knife, but prolonged suffering. Suffering has a plot. It has characters. It has misunderstood heroes, you, and evil villains. Sticking your own arrows into yourself allows you to maintain the victim status without admitting you are your executioner. The second arrow is a manipulation tool. While you suffer visibly, while you bleed in front of the world for your mental movie, you hope someone will come to rescue you. You hope someone will see how bad off you are and give you the keys to the castle that you don't dare take. Nobody is going to come. You are an adult with a chest full of arrows you stuck into yourself, demanding the universe apologize. You look ridiculous. You look pathetic. And your soul, which is grandiose and infinite, feels suffocated by your stupidity. How to extract the second arrow, the radical presence protocol. Enough theory. If this hard audio is to be of any use to you, you have to learn to operate in the emergency room of your own mind. How do you stop the mental movie when it's already rolling? How do you pull out the arrow when you're already bleeding the story of victimhood? You will apply the radical presence protocol. Step 1. Detect the montage, cut the movie's audio. You are at home, you just received bad news. You feel the anguish rising in your chest. Your mind starts talking. This is the end, what am I going to do? In that millisecond, you have to shout in your mind, cut. Imagine you are the film director of your life, stop the camera. Silence the mental voice. You cannot stop the emotion, but you can refuse to give it words. Close the internal mouth. Step 2. Isolate the fact. Measure the first arrow. With the mind in silence, become a purely objective war reporter. Describe what just happened without using a single emotional adjective. If you were fired, don't say, my work life is ruined because my boss is a monster. Say, the company terminated my contract. As of tomorrow, I am not going to that office. My current income is 0. Period. That is the biological and physical fact. That is the first arrow. Look at it. It is manageable. The fact is not mortal. The story is. Step 3. Feel the fire without adding wood. Go down into the body. This is the mastery part. Once you have isolated the fact, you will realize that the anguish is still there in your body. Your heart is beating fast. You have a knot in your throat. Do not fight that. Do not try to think about nice things. Carry all attention to the body. Observe the knot in your throat as if you were a scientist observing a chemical reaction in a test tube. Say, look, there is a muscle contraction in my throat. Allow yourself to feel the burn of the first arrow. Breathe deeply. And here, the miracle occurs. Emotion, when not fed by narrative, has a life of exactly 90 seconds. Neurologists have proven that the chemical cycle of an emotion lasts a minute and a half. If you feel angry or sad for hours, it is because every 90 seconds you fire another mental arrow at yourself to restart the cycle. You are reloading the weapon. If you limit yourself to feeling the first arrow, the fire goes out in 90 seconds. You are left exhausted, perhaps aching, but in peace. You are clean. You have just burned the trauma in real time without letting it become a long-term shadow. Pain is high-octane fuel. When you manage to master this technique, when you stop wasting your energy on suffering uselessly and are left only with the pure energy of clean pain, you become an unstoppable beast. Because pain, stripped of victimhood, is high-octane fuel. Anger, frustration, and sadness are dense energies with monumental power. The universe injects you with that energy, not so you cry in a corner, but so you use that adrenaline to tear down doors. If you are humiliated and feel enraged, don't throw yourself on the sofa, suffering. Take the hit, pain, swallow the fire, and use that boiling rage to work 16 hours a day until your success is massive. That is the sovereign's revenge. The slave takes revenge by firing arrows of hate. The sovereign takes revenge by building a skyscraper with the stones thrown at them. Remember prisoner B from the previous chapter, the one digging the tunnel with the broken spoon? His hands were bleeding. The first arrow was stuck in his fingers, but he did not suffer. He did not waste mental energy complaining about the king or the hard stone. He used the very pain of his fingers as a physical reminder that he was alive and that every scratch brought him closer to the light. Chapter 9. The New Contract. Forgiving your past is not a favor to your enemy. It is an act of pure selfishness to free your future. The snake analogy. The ship is yours. You have taken the helm. You have expelled the energy vampires from the deck. You have murdered passive hope and armed yourself with certainty. You have learned to receive the first arrow of physical pain without firing the second arrow of mental suffering. The engine of your consciousness is roaring at maximum power. The sails are deployed. The wind of quantum creation blows in your favor. But there is a problem, a physical and brutal problem. You look at the speed gauges. You hear the creaking of the wood. The ship is vibrating with enormous force. The engines are red hot, but you are barely moving. You are moving at 1 kilometer per hour. You peer over the edge, look into the dark depths of the ocean, and you see it. There is a steel chain, thick, rusty, tense to the point of breaking. That chain descends thousands of meters into the darkness and ends at a monstrous anchor, driven deep into the seabed. You are trying to sail into the future, with the anchor of the past stuck at the bottom of the sea. That anchor has a name. It is called resentment. Today we are going to go down to the depths. We are going to take a blowtorch and cut that chain. But I warn you from the first second, what you are going to hear in this chapter will destroy everything that religion, cheap morality, and popular culture have taught you about forgiveness. They have taught you to forgive out of submission. They have taught you that to forgive is to turn the other cheek, that it is being a good person. They taught you it is an act of charity toward the poor devil who hurt you. Lie. All of that is trash designed to keep you docile. Today we are going to redefine forgiveness. We are going to strip it of its saintly robe and dress it in the Creator's armor. You are going to learn that forgiving is not a favor you do for your enemy. It is the most supreme, calculating, and ruthless act of quantum selfishness you can commit to free your own future. The anatomy of poison, the art of rescenting. To cut the chain, first you have to understand what it is made of. Analyze the word resentment. It comes from the Latin re, again repetition, and sentire, to feel. It literally means to feel again. When someone hurt you in the past, when your partner stole from you, when your spouse was unfaithful, when your father abandoned you, when someone humiliated you publicly, that event was a physical and emotional blow on the timeline. It happened once. It lasted a few minutes, a few hours, perhaps a few months. That was the original crime. But resentment is what you do after the criminal has left. Every time you lie in your bed and go over in your head what they did to you, every time you recreate the argument in the shower and invent perfect responses you didn't say, every time you tell the story of your betrayal to a new friend so they agree with you, you are re-feeling. You are forcing your brain to release exactly the same cascade of toxic chemicals, cortisol, adrenaline, stress hormones, that it released the day the original trauma occurred. Your body does not know the difference between a real threat happening right now and a vivid thought about the past. The one who hurt you stabbed you only once, but you, through resentment, have taken the knife they left lying on the ground and stabbed yourself 10,000 times more. Who is the true executioner now? Resentment is the illusion of passive revenge. There is a phrase attributed to several philosophers that summarizes your stupidity in a masterly way. Resentment is like drinking a glass of rat poison, sitting in a chair and waiting for the other person to die. That is your current strategy. You believe that by hating them, by not forgiving them, you are punishing them. You believe your grudge is a prison for them. Listen to me, they don't care, they are sleeping soundly, they are on vacation, they are rebuilding their lives. Your poison does not cross space to damage their liver. It is rotting your liver. It is stealing your sleep. It is ruining your new relationships. Your grudge is not a weapon, it is a chain. And as long as you are chained to your executioner, the executioner remains the master of your life. The analogy of the snake and the dead skin. To understand the biological and spiritual urgency of this letting go, do not look at saints. Look at nature. Nature has no morality. It has efficiency. Nature knows how to survive and how to grow. Imagine a snake in the middle of the jungle. As the snake grows, consumes more food and becomes larger and more powerful, it faces a lethal problem. Its skin does not grow with it. There comes a time when the old skin, which once protected it from the sun and rocks, becomes a suffocating prison. The skin stretches to the maximum, scales tight against the flesh. When the time for shedding arrives, the snake experiences extreme discomfort. It becomes temporarily blind because the scale that covers its eyes also detaches, clouding its vision. It becomes vulnerable. Predators can attack it. The rubbing of its own body hurts. What does the snake do? Does it stay still, crying because its old skin hurts? Does it complain that the jungle is unfair? No. The snake looks for two sharp rocks or the roots of a tree. It sticks its head through the crack and begins to rub with violence. It scrapes itself, hurts itself, pushes against the stone with brute force. It pushes until the old skin tears at the head, and then in an act of pure strength it crawls forward, coming out of its old skin as if coming out of a tight tube. It emerges shiny, larger, more lethal, with vibrant colors and perfect vision. And here comes the fundamental part of the parable. Once the snake has come out of the old skin, it does not turn around to look at it. It does not pick it up to carry it in a backpack. It does not frame it to show the other snakes how much it suffered. It does not hold a grudge against the skin for having squeezed it. It simply leaves it lying in the jungle dust to rot and be eaten by insects. And it continues on its way. Why does the snake shed its skin? It doesn't do it to be a good snake. It doesn't do it to do the jungle a favor. It doesn't do it out of charity. It sheds its skin because if it doesn't, it dies of suffocation inside its own body. It is a biological necessity, ruthless and selfish to allow its own expansion. Decoding the jungle, your spiritual suffocation. You are the snake. Your past, your traumas, the people who hurt you, the betrayals you suffered, all of that is your old skin. At the time, that experience formed you. At the time, it was the armor with which you survived that stage of your life. But today you have grown. You have listened to this book. You have raised your level of consciousness. You are trying to manifest millions of dollars, high-level relationships, radiant health, and a personal empire. You are trying to fit the vibration of a 10-foot titan inside the skin of a terrified dwarf. That is why you feel suffocated. That is why you have anxiety attacks. That is why you feel you are about to explode and your mind gets cloudy. The blindness of the snake. The universe is screaming at you that the old container no longer holds you, and yet you refuse to rub yourself against the stone. You refuse to let go of the grudge. You remain tied to the people who harmed you. You keep dragging the dead skin everywhere. Forgiveness is the sharp rock. It tears. It hurts at first because it means letting go of the victim identity, the secondary gain we saw in Chapter 3. It means admitting that the past is over and that there are no more excuses. But forgiveness is not absolution. This is the trap where everyone falls. You believe that to forgive the one who betrayed you means saying, what you did was fine, it's okay. Of course it's not okay. Of course it was wrong. What they did to you was a low blow. Forgiving is not justifying the crime. Forgiving is not trusting the thief again. If you forgive a partner who robbed you, you do not give them the keys to your safe again. If you forgive an ex who humiliated you, you do not go back to them. Being spiritual does not mean being an idiot. Forgiving means exclusively, I refuse to let you continue occupying free space in my mind. I refuse to let you continue consuming my kilowatts of manifestation energy. You are irrelevant to my future. I cut you from my quantum network. You are out. You are dead to my nervous system. That is pure selfishness. You do it for you, to empty the hard drive, to free up RAM in your cosmic computer, Because you need 100% of your processing power to create tomorrow's empire, and you cannot afford to spend 40% of your battery hating a ghost from your past. The illusion of karma and revenge. Many disguise their resentment under the mask of karma. They say, "I don't take revenge, I let karma take care of them. God will provide justice, I'll see them fall." And they sit and wait, obsessed, checking their enemies' social media every 6 months to see if they got fat, if they went broke, or if they are unhappy. That is another way of being chained. If you are waiting for karma to punish your enemy, your happiness remains conditioned on the suffering of the other. You are still in prison, only now you have put God as your personal hitman. In the high spheres of Hermeticism, karma is not a cosmic punishment system. Karma is simply the law of cause and effect, pure inertia. Miserable people create miserable lives by default. They don't need you to curse them. Their own low vibration is their hell. But that should not matter to you at all. The sovereign creator does not look sideways. The eagle does not worry about whether the snake it left on the ground is struck by lightning or not. The eagle looks at the sun. Your greatest revenge, the ultimate, absolute, and crushing revenge, is not that they do poorly. Your greatest revenge is that you do so obscenely and shockingly well that their names are erased. Their names are erased from your memory completely. True revenge is monumental indifference. It is forgetting through the substitution of greatness. It is that, 10 years later, someone mentions their name, and you have to make a genuine effort to remember who on earth they were. The ledger. Declaring the debt in bankruptcy. To make this process practical, we are going to use the language of money, which is often colder and more effective than the language of emotions. Let's imagine that your emotional energy, your love, your trust, and your time are cash. Real money. Throughout your life, you have lent money to several people. You made a huge investment of trust in your ex-partner. She took that investment, squandered it, betrayed you, and left your balance at zero. She owes you millions emotionally. You made an investment of vulnerability in your parents. You expected them to pay you with unconditional love. Instead, they ignored or mistreated you. They left you an immense unpaid bill. You made an investment of loyalty in your company, and they fired you without saying thank you. Another giant debt in your favor. You have a mental ledger, and you have a gigantic accounts receivable column. People who owe you apologies, people who owe you explanations, people who owe you money, time, and mental health. Every day you open your ledger, look at that list, fill with fury, and say, "They have to pay me, they owe me my life." But here is the hardest lesson in the economy of life. Your debtors are bankrupt. Your parents do not have the emotional intelligence to pay you the apology you need. They are broken inside. Your ex does not have the empathy to give you the closure you seek. They are an emotional beggar. The system does not have the justice to compensate you. You are chasing indigents, demanding they pay you million-dollar checks. They will never pay you, because they do not have the funds, they do not have the consciousness, and as long as you keep that account open, as long as you keep waiting for the collection, your own internal financial balance is ruined. No new investor, the universe, the quantum field, new healthy partners, is going to inject capital into a company that spends all its time chasing uncollectible debts. What does a brilliant and ruthless entrepreneur do when they know a bankrupt client will never pay them? He doesn't spend money on lawyers who aren't going to recover anything. He doesn't lose sleep. He takes a red pen, crosses out the account, declares it a loss, bad debt, deducts it from his taxes, closes the folder, and concentrates 100% of his sales force on getting new and better clients. He assumes the loss so he can continue operating. That is forgiveness. It is the bankruptcy declaration of your executioners. It is opening your emotional ledger today, looking at your father, your mother, your ex-partner, the thief, and telling them with total administrative coldness, "I know you owe me a fortune. I know you stole years of my life. But I just realized you are emotional paupers, and you will never be able to pay me the apology I deserve. So, I assume the loss. I cross your name off my debt book. You are forgiven. Your balance is zero. Not because you deserve it, but because I need my ledgers clean right now to start billing miracles." The paradox of memory, remembering without burning. When you do this, When you declare the debt at zero, something magical happens in your brain. Many people are afraid to forgive because they believe it means forgetting the lesson. If I forgive them, I'll be vulnerable again. I have to keep the grudge alive to protect myself so they don't do it to me again. Go back to the hot stove analogy, chapter 8. When you were a child, you put your hand on the stove and burned yourself. Do you need to hate the stove for the rest of your life to not put your hand on it again? Do you wake up every morning cursing the stove and thinking of revenge against the appliance manufacturer? No, you simply learned the physical lesson. Fire burns, don't put your hand near it. You have the tactical memory without the emotional charge. There is no hate. There is only useful information. That is the final goal of this chapter. Transforming trauma into tactical information. Transforming resentment into distilled wisdom. When you truly forgive, you don't develop amnesia. You remember exactly what that person did to you. You remember the manipulation. You remember the scam. You remember the blow. But when you remember it, your heart no longer races. Your chest doesn't tighten. There are no more tears or desire to kill anyone. It's like reading the news about something that happened to a stranger in another country 20 years ago. It is a cold datum. Ah, yes. That person has a pattern of disloyal behavior. Information saved. Consequence: never do business or interact with that person again. End of file. When you can talk about your worst tragedy, the worst betrayal you suffered, and your voice doesn't tremble and your stomach doesn't turn, then, Captain, you are truly free. You have transmuted the poison into pure water. The dead skin has been left lying in the dust. The energetic closure, breaking the ties of the past. This is the moment of truth. Metaphysical laws demand physical rituals to settle commands in matter. The subconscious understands the language of symbolic and forceful actions. You cannot simply think about forgiving. You have to execute the contract in the real world, so the universe knows you mean it. In chapter 2, you wrote the names of the guilty and burned them to stop blaming them. Today you are going to go deeper. Today you are going to settle the debts. Chapter 10, Assuming the Crown. Leaving the role of a slave to take the throne of the sovereign creator, the parable of the lion. You have reached the summit. The air here is thin, cold, and absolutely pure. Look back for a moment. Look at the valley of misery you just climbed out of. You are no longer the crying dog on the nail. You are no longer the beggar sitting on the box of gold. You have burned your mental courtroom. You have forgiven your debtors to set yourself free. You have murdered passive hope and embraced absolute certainty. The ship is finally yours. The deck is entirely clean of energy vampires and parasites. But a clean ship drifting aimlessly is just a floating piece of wood. A healed mind without a massive purpose is a tragic waste of divine machinery. This is the exact point where 99% of people who enter the world of personal development fail miserably. They believe that the ultimate goal of the journey is simply to be okay. They want to heal their traumas just to become functional, well-adjusted employees in a sick society. They want to be stress-free slaves, comfortable prisoners. Listen to me very carefully. You did not endure the fires of hell just to become normal. The universe did not forge you in the anvil of pain so you could pay your bills on time and die quietly. Normal is a plague. Normal is the anesthesia of the masses. You were stripped of everything so you could be filled with the divine. The empty space inside you right now is the exact shape of a throne, and it is entirely empty, waiting for you. It is time to cross the final threshold. It is time to claim the crown. To understand the magnitude of the identity theft you have suffered since the day you were born, I have to take you to the African savannah. I need to tell you an ancient Sufi story about forgetting who you really are. Listen to the lion raised by sheep. Once upon a time, a lioness died shortly after giving birth to her cub. The orphaned lion cub was wandering alone in the vast savannah when a flock of sheep found him. The sheep, being gentle creatures, adopted him. They raised him as one of their own. The lion cub grew up eating grass even though it upset his stomach. He learned to bleat like a sheep. He learned to walk with his head down, looking at the dirt. Above all, he learned the ultimate sheep emotion: terror. He lived in constant fear of wolves. He became a massive, majestic, and powerful adult lion, yet in his mind, he was just a clumsy, oversized, and particularly ugly sheep. When a predator approached the flock, this enormous beast would run away in sheer panic, bleating in absolute terror. One day an old, fierce and wise lion was roaming the area. He saw the flock of sheep and prepared to hunt. But as he charged, he saw something that froze him in his tracks. A magnificent adult lion was running away from him alongside the sheep, bleating. The old lion was confused and enraged by this pathetic sight. He ignored the sheep and sprinted directly toward the young lion. He caught him easily, pinning him to the ground with his massive paws. The young lion closed his eyes and bleated for mercy. "Please don't eat me," the young lion cried out, trembling like a leaf. "I am just a poor sheep. Have mercy on my flock," the old lion roared in sheer frustration. "Shut up, you fool. You are not a sheep." But the young lion kept crying and begging. Realizing that words were useless against a lifetime of brainwashing, the old lion dragged the young one by the scruff of his neck. He pulled him through the dirt until they reached a crystal-clear pond. "Open your eyes and look," the old lion commanded. The young lion slowly opened his eyes and looked down at the calm water. For the very first time in his life, he saw his own reflection. He saw the massive golden mane. He saw the terrifying fangs. He saw the broad, muscular shoulders of a natural king. He looked at the old lion's reflection next to his own. They were exactly the same. In that magical split second, the illusion shattered. A strange, primal energy surged from the depths of his belly, vibrating through his ribs and up into his throat. The young lion opened his jaws, and instead of a pathetic bleat, a thunderous roar erupted from his lungs. A roar so loud and powerful that it shook the trees and sent the flock of sheep running for the hills. He had remembered. He was the king. Decoding the parable. You are the amnesiac god. If you don't feel a chill running down your spine right now, you are still sleeping. This story is your exact biography. You are that magnificent, powerful lion, but you were born into a flock of sheep. Your parents, your teachers, the politicians, and the religious leaders, they were the sheep. They didn't mean to harm you. They were just teaching you the only reality they knew. They taught you to eat the grass of mediocrity and to walk with your head down. They taught you to bleat. What is a bleat? A bleat is a complaint. A bleat is asking the government to save you. A bleat is begging for a raise instead of creating your own wealth. A bleat is hoping someone else will fix the economy or your broken heart. They injected you with the sheep's primary operating system. Fear. Fear of the economy. Fear of failure. Fear of what the neighbors will say. Fear of a punishing God. You grew up terrified of wolves that were actually weaker than you. You forgot your nature. You have the cosmic DNA of the Creator inside you. You have the quantum ability to collapse reality with your mind. But you are using that supreme power to run away from shadows. You are a god playing the role of a terrified victim in a cheap tragedy. This audio, this entire book, has been the old lion dragging you by the neck to the edge of the pond. I have been forcing you to look at your reflection. I'm pointing at the water and screaming at you. Look at yourself. You are not a fragile victim. The throne of the I Am. To take the crown, you must understand the ultimate secret of mysticism and quantum physics. It is the secret of the I Am. When Moses asked God for his name, God didn't say, "I am the universe." God said, "I am that I am." I am is the name of God, and it is the exact same phrase you use every single day to define yourself. But look at how you use the holy name of the Creator. You say, "I am sick, I am poor, I am lonely, I am tired, I am unlucky." You are blaspheming. Every time you attach a negative concept to the words "I am," you are commanding the fabric of reality to mold itself into that exact shape. You are using the magic wand of the universe to curse your own life. You are the lion bleating your own doom. Assuming the crown means guarding the words "I am" with your life. A king does not speak carelessly. A king knows that his word is law in his kingdom. From this moment on, you will never again attach a limitation to your true identity. You must be ruthless. If you feel sick, you do not say, "I am sick." You say, "My physical body is currently processing a temporary imbalance, but I am perfect health." You separate the immortal Creator from the temporary circumstance. You never identify with the dying flesh. If your bank account is empty, you do not say, "I am poor." You say, "I am currently experiencing a temporary lack of liquidity, but I am infinite abundance." Poverty is a circumstance. It is not a title. Do not let the mud stick to your golden crown. The posture of sovereignty. Taking the throne is not just a mental exercise. It requires a physical and energetic shift. Kings and queens do not walk like slaves. They do not shrink in the presence of others. They do not apologize for existing. Check your posture right now. Are your shoulders slouched? Is your breathing shallow? Are you hiding your heart behind your ribcage? That is the posture of a sheep trying to avoid the wolf. Straighten your spine. Lift your chin. Expand your chest. Take space. A sovereign walks into a room and does not wonder, will they like me? A sovereign walks in and thinks, let's see if I like them. You are the prize. You are the source of the energy. You do not need to extract validation from anyone in that room. Stop asking the universe for permission. Slaves ask, kings command. Stop praying to an external entity hoping it will drop a miracle on your lap. Your prayers must become decrees. A decree is a statement of absolute fact. It is a reality that is already done. When you desire something, you do not beg. You assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You step into the timeline where that desire is already yours, and you wear it like a royal cloak. You look at the 3D reality, and you smile at its slow, lagging echo. The death of the need for explanations. The final test of your sovereignty is your relationship with the opinions of the sheep. When you put on the crown, the people around you will get extremely uncomfortable. Your light will expose their chosen darkness. They will call you arrogant. They will say you have changed. They will try to guilt-trip you back into the flock. They will demand explanations for your new boundaries. They will want to know why you don't complain with them anymore. Do not argue with them. A lion does not explain his diet to the sheep. A king does not justify his decrees to the peasants. If you stop to explain yourself, you are lowering your vibration to their level. You are stepping off your throne to fight in the mud. Let them be confused. Your silence is your ultimate weapon. Your massive success will be your only response. Let your results scream so loudly that they permanently deafen the doubts of your critics. Build your empire in silence, and let the execution be your grand finale. The final challenge, the roar. This is it, the end of the road. We have destroyed the victim, the beggar, the complaining dog, and the hopeful prisoner. We have cleared the stage. The throne room is open. The crown of your reality is sitting right there. You have a choice to make in this exact second. You can take off your headphones, close this book, and go back to eating grass. You can pretend you never saw your reflection in the water. You can go back to bleating with the flock. It is safe, but it is dead. Or you can walk up those steps. You can feel the cold, heavy gold of the crown in your hands. You can place it on your head, and you can accept the terrifying, magnificent responsibility of being the sole creator of your entire universe. No more excuses. If you choose the crown, I want you to perform one last act, not in your mind but in the physical world, right now, wherever you are. I want you to take a deep breath, stand up, look at your reflection in the nearest mirror, just like the lion at the pond. Look deep into your own eyes, pierce through the human shell, connect with the eternal spark of the I Am, and I want you to say out loud, with a voice that shakes the walls of your room, a voice that commands the quantum field, I am the creator. It is done. That is your roar. Let the vibration of those words echo through your timeline. Let the universe hear that the king has returned. Let the matrix know that the anomaly has awakened and the old rules no longer apply. The game is yours to program now. Conclusion, the antidote. The final radical call to action. The transmission is ending. The manual has been fully delivered into your hands. You are now holding the ultimate antidote to the poison of a mediocre life. But an antidote is useless if not swallowed. Knowledge without action is the ultimate delusion. It is spiritual gluttony. If you do not apply what you have learned here within the next 24 hours, this entire journey was just cheap entertainment. You will have betrayed your own soul's calling. I challenge you right now. Do not let this spark die. Leave a physical anchor in the material world. Go to the comment section of this video or write it in your journal. Declare your new identity publicly. Write, the sheep is dead. I have taken the crown. And if this message woke you up from a lifelong coma, do not be selfish. Send this audio to that one person you know is a sleeping lion. Be the old lion for someone else. Drag them to the pond. Let us build an army of sovereigns. The world needs your roar. Subscribe to this channel, because this is the gathering place for the awake. This is the war room of the creators. Do not go back to sleep. Keep your crown heavy and your vision sharp. I will see you on the other side of the illusion. Reign supreme. Conclusion: the antidote. Call to final and radical action. Silence returns to the room. The transmission is about to turn off. I have delivered to you the complete map, the helm of the ship, and the heavy crown of your own existence. Throughout this journey we have destroyed the dog that cries over the rusty nail. We have burned to ashes the tribunal of your excuses. We have thrown the energy vampires overboard, and we have awakened the lion that lived terrified among the sheep. But listen to me with maximum alertness, because this is the most dangerous instant of your entire process. Information by itself is not power. It is only sleeping potential. If you close this audio sighing and saying how inspiring, and tomorrow morning you return to complaining about traffic, return to begging for crumbs of attention, and return to being the victim of your circumstances, you will have committed the greatest of crimes: spiritual gluttony. You will have swallowed the medicine only for its taste, refusing to let it cure the disease of your reality. The world is full of personal development scholars who remain in physical and emotional bankruptcy. They are addicted to theory, but cowards in practice. The true antidote against the hypnosis of mediocrity is not listening to yet another book. The antidote is radical and relentless action. The system counts on your laziness. It counts on the gravity of your old routine, dragging you back to the lower deck of the ship. Your ego, terrified by the immense responsibility of wearing the crown, will beg you tomorrow to return to grazing with the flock, because it is easier and safer. Do not allow it. Therefore, today, I demand from you a physical act of sovereignty. The material universe, the matrix, needs tangible proof of your change in consciousness to begin molding your new reality. You have to leave an anchor in this 3D plane right now, before the fire in your chest cools down. Your execution order. Go to the comments of this video right now and make your first public declaration as a sovereign creator. Write with absolute certainty: the sheep is dead, the beggar is gone, I have taken the crown, and I assume absolute command of my empire. Do not see it as a simple YouTube comment. Assume it as your first quantum decree. It is your roar in front of the pond. It is signing your new contract in everyone's view. And if this message shook your insides and tore the blindfold from your eyes, do not be a selfish hoarder of light. Send this audio to that person you know is a trapped lion, living a life that is too small for them. Become the old lion that drags them to the water so they can see their true reflection. Elevate your tribe. Subscribe to this channel if you are willing to keep the crown on every day. Because here we do not tolerate excuses, we only materialize miracles. The game has changed forever. The helm is yours. Stand up, go out there, and make physical reality bow before the undeniable weight of your greatness.